got the energy. Yeah, we got the energy.
Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey, it's Tigers Day, also known as Wednesday.
And also the 50th Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Is it really?
Number
It
50.
is.
We have done.
I mean, none of us individually have been on 50 shows, but
shows.
That's true.
Not true. I have.
I
guess you got a point. You
right.
got something there.
Mike's
Steve
done
Curtin
50.
has.
I've done 49. G, I think, has done 48.
Anthony, has Anthony been here for all 50?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Anthony
Yes.
worked remote one day.
But he worked on the show.
Yeah.
That count. 50 shows.
That's a
50.
lot of shows.
I'm at like 12.
I know.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's
Maybe.
okay. We need more Tyvis. I've decided we need more Tyvis.
Well, I'm on vacation the first week of August. I think he's in for me the
I
whole
am
week.
filling
so.
in.
Tyvis
First week of August.
That'll be
Tyvis
Tyvis week.
Yep.
All right, very good. On today's show, Charles Robinson, he's a Yahoo reporter, very good writer, very good reporter. He's been all over the Deshaun Watson story. He's going to join us in just a little bit. Also, Robert Smith, Euclid High School's Robert Smith, and of course, Ohio State Buckeye, Minnesota
Bucks.
Viking. Terrific career as an NFL player. All around great guy, too. But Robert's one of my all-time favorites. He's going to join us on the program. And it'll be fun because as he's saying goodbye, Leroy Hoard's coming on, so they'll cross paths. And I hope that we have as much fun with that this week as we had with a
Archie.
similar thing last week with Keith Byers and Leroy Hoard. So that should be fun. That's coming up.
Jay, a couple
all
quick
on today's
reactions
show.
to your intro here.
Yeah.
Do you think Robert Smith, the name Robert Smith, is the most common name in America? Or maybe
I would think Joe
maybe
Smith.
Joe Smith, Mike,
Yeah.
Mike Smith,
Maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of
I'd say
Mike White. By the way, how come every athlete with the last name White is black and with the last name Black is white? Think about that. Think about that.
I've never thought about that
I've
ever
never
in my
thought-
life.
Think about it.
I've never thought about
I've
that.
never thought about
Every
that.
athlete with the last name Black is white. Every athlete with the last name White is black.
And just think,
Isn't it-
every last name is some old white guy's name.
That's true.
That's right. Yeah.
That's true.
yeah.
Well,
by
at
the
least-
way,
at least
I-
most of them. A lot of immigrants that come from other countries.
That's true.
My wife is like, speak for yourself.
She's carrying her name proudly.
By the way, one other thing. I'm waiting for the day where we're introducing the guests that are coming on, and Jay says, coming on today's show from CBS Sports is Joe Schmo. He sucks, but we're having him
No,
on anyway.
here's the thing. If I don't say this person's a great guy,
Then you know he's not.
you gotta watch out. I'm just saying.
There it is, ladies and
No,
gentlemen. You
I'm
got the
just-
hint.
I'm just
McNuggets,
kidding.
why are we having this guy on? He sucks.
I'll say that before the show. I'll never
talked to-
say that in the intro on the show.
I talked to Robert Smith. His shot is set up and everything. He'll be back in half an hour.
He's good to go then.
But he's good to go. And he did say he heard Steve Curtin hooking up your mic, Jay. And he goes, man, Jay's been doing this a long time, but still needs help getting mic'd up. So he's very close to Jazz at you, too.
The sad part about that is I usually don't need help getting mic'd up. Do I, Steve? The director in there. Today he wanted to do something a little different. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Hey!
What is going
Steve.
on? What is going
Can we throw color
What
bars
happened
for just
there?
a second to reset?
on?
We need
If I had the ability to punch the color bars myself, I would have just
My
punched the color
gosh, Steve.
Yeah. Hey,
Whoa.
let's start the show.
Okay,
And
then.
before we do, is everything okay with you physically today?
Well,
Feeling okay?
let me tell you something. I went for a massage yesterday.
Yes.
Wow. My Achilles is the best it's felt in 6 months.
No kidding. Did you ever tear it?
Well, I tore my left Achilles 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A full tear.
Right.
It was a
That's
really
a
rough
doozy.
recovery.
Yeah, that's a doozy.
But about 6 months ago, I was walking a lot, and all of a sudden my Achilles really started barking. So I went to my orthopedist.
Right.
Orthopedist?
Sure.
Yeah. And he checked it out. And he's like, I went for an MRI or whatever the hell I did, and he's like, there's slight, tiny tears, but they don't repair that. That's got to replace on its own. So I've been doing physical
So the
therapy and all
masseuse
this.
worked on that Achilles.
She worked on it for 45 minutes just in that one spot. I did a 75-minute massage. She did 45, 50 minutes on that one
It's
spot.
amazing how great you can feel after
Oh
that.
my God! I'm
Yeah.
going back again next week.
Wonderful.
In fact, I got to call her after the show.
Yeah,
so,
let's do that. Let's set that up, and then we'll get a report next week on the
They were dead
Keep you up to
serious.
You know what I've learned about Bull? He's like an old person. When you ask them how you're doing,
I'll tell you.
You're going to get the
I'm gonna
real
share it
thing
all.
in my
The whole
hip
thing.
and my back.
I'm going to share it all.
If you come in with one eye patch on, talk about I had to get my cataracts done, I know
Yeah,
something.
that's it.
Don't you come in here with that.
All right, let's the news of the day is where we begin in pro football talk. Yesterday we talked about the report that Mike Florio was saying that according to the Watson camp and even NFLPA, they were looking in the 2 to 8 game range for
It's a pretty big range, by the way.
It is a big range. I had a lot of
Yeah.
people yesterday tell me that watch the show. They're like, why is it such a wide range?
Yeah.
Well, I'll guarantee you this: it's either going to be 0 games or an indefinite. It's somewhere in between.
Yeah,
And I'll guarantee you
100%.
that's the range.
I'll agree with that.
You can book it. Yeah, it's a big range.
It's a bold statement.
I think that we kind of were leaning towards the lower end of that.
Yes.
But according to Florio's report, there are sources that are telling him that the Browns are bracing for the higher end of that. And maybe they're just getting ready for worst case scenario, but they're
Yeah.
bracing for the higher end of that, which would be 8 games. So let's start our discussion this way. Let's say it's 8 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got Jacoby Brissett starting at quarterback for the first 8 games. For those that don't remember, here's the way the schedule plays out: Panthers, Jets, Steelers, Falcons, Chargers, Patriots, Ravens, Bengals. What's their record when Watson comes back?
Jay, I say their record will be 4-4. I think you need Jacoby Brissett to hold the fort, 500. I think it's possible he goes 5-3. I was kind of in between the two, but I'll say 4-4 for the Browns with Jacoby.
Tyvis?
I got 5-3. I think
Ooh,
Jacoby
optimistic.
Brissett. Yeah, I think Jacoby Brissett does a great job. Like I said, the number one thing he does is he's going to take care of the football, and that's what you need. We're going to obviously lean heavy on the run game, and I think those playmakers that we got with David Njoku, he has to show why he's a top 5. He's going to have a breakout season, and Amari Cooper's going to do his thing, and everybody's going to fill in. I trust Kevin Stefanski to be able to call plays that his playmakers make plays, and I
Very
expect
good.
our defense to stay right where they were at. Where I think they finished top 10 last year. Or something
Yeah,
like that.
and really
Yeah.
arrow up.
Exactly.
I mean, they
Towards
started,
the
they were
end,
trying
yeah.
to figure it out. You know,
And
when you're
it's
playing with new teammates, it takes a while.
Year
They figured it out
year
at the
two
end.
in the same with the same guy, or what? This would be year 3 for
Yeah.
Joe Woods. Same guys being in there, keeping the same roster. They all kind of know each other, so they should be a lot better moving forward.
All right, 4-4, 5-3. G. Bush?
You know I got to go up top on them.
Ooh.
I got to go up top.
Like this is the Price is Right.
Here we go.
I
Yeah,
got to go up top.
higher.
6-2, baby.
Call it in.
6-2.
Speak it.
Come on now.
6-2.
Man.
There's power in the tongue.
Yes, it is. He's good all the time. Yes,
Which
he is.
two do they
What are you
lose?
doing?
Which
What are
two
you
do they
doing?
lose?
Hey, like, so see this. I like that you put my schedule up there because I was forgetting. I am kind of scary at this. At Atlanta is a trap game already. I think they're 3-0 going into Atlanta. They're playing a mobile quarterback, Marcus Mariota. It's going to be in the dome. That's a trap game. I think they can sneak out of there by winning by a field goal. Pittsburgh, I think they get them the first game, but this is very manageable. When you go to that second 4,
Yeah, much tougher.
Let's talk about this.
Now,
this the one.
Now, this is the one where the Chargers, they never play well against the Chargers for some reason.
I
They
said
played
the
well
same-
last year.
I said the same thing.
I mean, but even when the Chargers came there last, I think it's Baker's rookie year, they smoked them. I think the Chargers give them trouble. I think you get New England. I think you get New England. So I got an L to the Chargers. You beat New England, and then at Baltimore, that's an L. This is a convincing L. I think Lamar Jackson.
And Jacoby Brissett then beat Cincinnati at home.
I don't.
Man,
Watch this.
It's Halloween night, Monday Night Football.
Watch
It's
home.
Jacoby
Oh,
Brissett
it's
and it's
scary
Joe
hour.
Burrow.
It's home. But Kevin Stefanski has done a good job.
No, he's done a great
Yes.
job.
against the Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, has he lost?
No.
Nope.
He's under. He beat him with the backup last year. He got he got
Oh,
to.
they had backups too.
I get it.
Yeah, a lot more than we did.
Yeah.
But
Asterisk that way.
Yeah, throw that one out.
There it
But
is.
still 3-0 against the
3-0 is
against the
really
good
good.
team.
now I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy, but you said sometimes, and I agree with it. The Cleveland Browns, if they want to win, I'm looking at Myles Garrett. This has to be your defensive player of the year type performance. This is it. And this is why I always tell y'all, man, look, you got Myles Garrett, you got Jadeveon Clowney. You got a lot of people on that field getting a lot of money. Denzel Ward feels he's a top 3 corner. You got John Johnson, he getting a boatload of money at safety. And you got Grant Delpit, who I feel like is going to be our version of that next safety. We ain't never had
We
no
need
safety.
that
We
badly.
need that guy.
A couple of things here. First of all, I take issue with Florio using the word the Browns are bracing, because to me that indicates something they were not prepared for until recently. And like, how could they have not been prepared? Like, if you want to argue they weren't prepared for a full season suspension, okay, I can see that. But
I think they
for
were.
a while now, I'm sure they've been saying, they probably thought, well, if it's 8 games, we can live with that. I don't know that I agree with the term bracing.
Maybe the wrong word. I think maybe perhaps expecting. And not because bracing does have a negative connotation.
Yes,
like, oh my
exactly.
God, it could be 8 games.
Right.
I still think there will be some cheers coming from Berea.
Absolutely.
If it's 8 games.
Yes,
like
no
they'd
doubt.
love it to be 4, 6,
Yeah.
but if it's 8, it's better than the year alternative. And I do think there would be a measure of relief if they know it's just 8.
In this column that Florio had, he did have a little nugget at the end where he said there's been, I don't remember exactly how he put it, but it basically said there's been some rumors or rumblings that the Browns might talk to Cam Newton. And we brought up Cam Newton a while ago, guys. And I was thinking about this. In the end, I know Tyvis wants to talk about it too, so I'll leave this part. If they're not going to trade for Garoppolo, which I know you want them to,
Yeah.
I would just stick with Brissett. As long as it's not a full year suspension. I'm sticking with Brissett over Cam Newton, or you could bring in like an A.J. McCarron or a what's his name, the tall dopey guy used to be on the Buccaneers.
Yeah, but what's the point?
No, just as a backup.
Yeah.
Just as a backup. Just to have a veteran backup.
Yeah.
But I'm starting Jacoby Brissett because here's the difference. Mike Lennon, thank you. Here's the reason I would rather bring in one of those guys than Cam Newton. Because Cam Newton is going to make mistakes. Cam Newton, right? Like, you know how we talk about Baker thinks he's better than he is?
Yeah.
Well, Cam Newton was better than he is.
Yeah.
He was a whole.
His mind hasn't caught up to his body.
He doesn't realize he's not that good anymore.
No, that's exactly right.
So he keeps trying to make those plays, and he throws. Jacoby Brissett, I don't know him personally, but I'm pretty sure he knows who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, he knows his role
Well,
in the
he's
NFL.
never been that guy. Remember, Cam was an MVP. Cam played in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Cam had an unbelievable college career.
Brissett's not going to turn the ball, make terrible mistakes. Not that he'll never make a mistake. He's not going to make those egregious mistakes. He knows how to run an offense. He's a pro. He's a veteran. I think it makes sense, unless you're going to go Garoppolo, to stick with Brissett.
For this discussion, it's just Brissett for the first 8.
Yeah.
I'm going your avenue. I'm going safe, and I'm saying 4 and 4. I just look at the talent around whoever the quarterback is. This talent is playoff caliber talent. And if you have playoff caliber talent, you should be able to adjust to missing the best and most important player on your team.
Right.
And I believe that I think Stefanski will be able to game plan to his personnel. We're going to see a heavy dose of the run. We should. I think we should anyhow. Yeah. But I think that if we become too predictable on the run, that could be a problem too.
Yeah.
When teams know what you're going to do, they're going to stop it. Yeah. So but I think Stefanski, he knows all of that. I think he's going to be smart. I think they'll come through this safely at 4 and 4. And if they do, guys, and they get Watson back for the last 9 games of the season, I've got them going 6 and 3.
Right, he's got to go 6 and 3 to make the playoffs.
To make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, that would be 10 and 7, and there's no guarantee that gets you into the playoffs.
That's true.
So, he might have to go 7 and 2.
He might.
That's a big ask for a guy that hasn't seen the football field in 23 months. It would be 23 months at that point.
But the Browns do a good job of not having a starting quarterback. You think of...
They did last year.
Yeah, last year.
Really
you think of the Denver game. They did really well. The Vegas game.
Man.
They didn't have nobody, and they still had a fighting chance. So just imagine if you got a guy who you could prepare. That's why I'm hoping if he does get suspended, they get it during training camp or before, so Jacoby Brissett can take those first-team reps to establish that chemistry with everybody, and he'll have the flow going right.
We've talked about the fact that Watson could play in the preseason. You have 12 quarters of football in the preseason. If you're Stefanski, how are you splitting those 12 quarters between Brissett, a guy who will be running the offense for the first half of the season, and Watson, a guy who hasn't played football in a year and 8 months?
I've been thinking about this a lot. Jacoby Brissett getting all the reps.
I think he will.
Every last single one of them. And I'm going to put Deshaun Watson on ice. He not going to see nothing. Because here's the worst thing that can happen. This is devastating. I don't even want to talk about
I
it.
know where you're going. Don't even say it, G. Bush. Don't even say it because you're speaking into.
That would be terrible.
Yeah,
Hold on a second. You can't. You're not a guy who lives in his fears. You can't live in your fears. Be worried about injury.
But
Get injured anytime.
Adam,
but
can you imagine?
Wait a minute, though.
No.
This, you ain't if you
And if that happens in a regular season
I
game,
know. I hear you, but
I can't have that happen in a preseason
He's not
game.
taking no
He's
reps.
our future.
No. D.Y. ain't played in 23 months. You think if he don't get out in the preseason, he gonna be like, let me see, you know, let me test it a little bit. Let me see what I got.
Right, he gotta play a little.
Let me give the people a little glimpse of what I'm gonna do.
He's
And
gonna
now
play a little.
Now you
So
put
what-
yourself out there.
I would
You've
do
got 12
70
quarters for Brissett, 0 for
I'm
Watson.
doing like 75%
Okay, so
Brissett.
okay,
but
nine,
I got to get
9
Watson
quarters
some
for
reps.
Jacoby.
So what
Yeah.
about the backup?
You got to get Dobbs
I
right.
almost said F that guy.
Don't say that. But no, you're right because Dobbs is going to have. So
gotta get him ready.
how are you splitting it? So you're going 9-3-0 for Dobbs.
Yeah.
You're going 12-0-0.
12.
I'm not going 12.
No, yeah,
that's
12.
absurd.
12.
I go 8-4.
Yeah.
8-4.
I'm going to go 8-3-1. You got to play Dobbs because you know what? He's a snap away from holding the entire franchise.
I bet they'll add
you gotta
somebody
play
else.
him some.
I'm giving Dobbs. I'm giving the 4 to Dobbs. I'm not giving D.Y. no reps, man. No.
0 reps.
He can take him in
he's
practice.
playing, man.
No,
He might
can
not
take
even
him
be
in
playing in practice.
He can take him in practice, man. I'm not putting him out there.
By the way, this is, we talked about this year being a referendum for Kevin Stefanski.
Right.
But in a way, in the games that Watson doesn't play, it's a referendum on the whole roster. Because we keep talking, this is a great roster, this is a great roster. Well, if it's that great, they better win some games without him.
But it's also going to be really tough to judge them without their
Of
without
course.
their field
And that's why I got to go 4-4 because you look at that second 4 games. I mean, those are all really good teams. The Patriots are the worst of those 4 teams, and they're a decent team.
Yeah, that
and
last 4 scares me.
And unlike the first 4, those teams also have Super Bowl caliber rosters, except for maybe New England.
Yeah.
The Chargers, Bengals, and Ravens do, but they also have much better quarterbacks than Jacoby
Even got a
Brissett.
receiver.
Big Nuggets, you got something?
Yeah, but they got well.
Yeah, we got our guest.
They got what?
Guys,
They don't have plenty of other good players.
Our guest is
Your
in the
boy
way.
J.K.
We'll get back to this
Dobbins.
discussion in a sec, but we do
To be
have
continued.
Charles Robinson joining us now via the
Okay.
Gridiron Guys hotline. Looking for a local roofer you can trust, family-owned since 2003. The Gridiron Guys have been grown to become Northeast Ohio's top-rated roofers. We exemplify quality
There it
work
is.
practices and are a valued resource for homeowners and offer a 10-year workmanship warranty. Call 330-573-7967 today for a free estimate.
Gridiron, guys.
And now let's
And
bring
by the
on
way, the
Charles
Ravens have won a lot
Robinson.
of games without a good receiver, by the way.
Charles, what do you think of our in-house jingle singer?
I love it. We need more of that. Can we get the remix on Spotify?
You got it.
Coming soon.
I'm in.
Coming soon.
Charles, are you a Tigers fan? Or is that you just wearing that for fashion?
No, unfortunately, I'm a Tigers fan.
Are you from Detroit?
God.
Are you from Detroit, Charles?
I grew up in Michigan, lived in Detroit for quite a while, so I'm always
your
repping the D.
All right, bless your heart.
Although the 84 Tigers, one of the best teams I've ever seen,
my
the
God.
84 Tigers.
Tell me.
Wonderful
Tell me you're not
memory
a.
that continues to fade.
Tell me you're not a fan of like the college there.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. From
The college there? I went to Michigan State, so
Okay.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
we can continue the interview then. All right. So, hey, Charles, first of all, thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. I want to start by, and I know this is really tough, and we hate when others do it, and yet we do it all the time.
Yeah.
But best educated guess here on when we might get a ruling.
That's a new question. I haven't been asked that one yet.
We hate that
best
question.
educated guess. Somewhere between 0 and forever.
You nailed it. You're the first person we've asked that to that we can definitively say got it right.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is it realistic to expect this before training camp starts, which is what, like 8 days away now?
Okay, I'll say this. When this process started, actually prior to them having the hearing in front of Sue L. Robinson, I was using the word expect. Okay, the NFL expects, the Browns expect, Watson's camp expects, the union expects. After the hearing took place, as you continue to talk to these parties, the language they were using about when the decision would come, I was like, I got to drop the word expect because clearly this is a hope. They hope to have it by the time training camp opens. And I think the reason for that is there's no benchmark that's been given or timetable that's been given by Sue L. Robinson. And so now when you talk to all the parties involved, they all say the same thing. She's doing what she's paid to do. She's an arbitrator. We hired her to have a thorough decision and take her time and do this right. And that's what she's doing. And now there's no indication that this is going to get done on the clock that everyone had hoped it would get done on. So I still think, and I think there's a reason why the reporters are saying this, but I still think it grows out of hopefulness that this comes out maybe on the eve of camp, okay? But when I last spoke to essentially someone from every party involved, they all said the same thing, which is this could be a while. It could actually take us into the first days of camp, if not longer.
Okay.
You know, Charles, one of the things that I haven't heard many people kind of prognosticate on or kind of guess is, say, for instance, Judge Sue Robinson comes back with her verdict and say it's 8 games. What do you think the likelihood of A, Deshaun Watson appealing to 8 games, or B, the NFL appealing to 8 games, right? Because they still can do that if it's anything over 0 games. Do you have a kind of a sense on whether or not they will take whatever she says and ride out with it?
I think that Deshaun Watson's camp knows that there has been sort of an advisement that if this comes in less than double-digit games, it's probably best for him to take it. Because remember, if he appeals, once again, that goes to Roger Goodell or his designee, and they have an ability to add games. So you're opening yourself to potential additional peril if you're the party that decides to appeal. Now, I actually like that 8 to 10 game number because I think that is the number that neither side will be happy with, and that means the arbitrator succeeded. That means that if the NFL is sitting there and they're staring at 8 to 10 games, they're going, that's not a full year. That's not, essentially the 17 games plus postseason that we might have hoped for. But also Watson's camp is sitting there going, we thought the way the NFL presented, and the union thought the way the NFL presented, this could be 4 games. It could be 2 games. It could be 6 games. Again, I think if it comes into that middle ground where no one's really absolutely happy, but no one's devastated either, it's probably the right decision. So do I think Watson's camp could appeal regardless? Yes, I do, but I think they also know the potential peril on the other side of that is Goodell could absolutely add games.
Charles, I've talked about on the show a few times how these decisions in the past have always been made by the league based on emotion or appearance, right? They suspended because they wanted to maybe appease the people that were angry, right? And now, in this case, because this is being done by a judge and being treated like a real court proceeding, it's not being done by emotion, it's being done by fact or I guess, fact and opinion, but educated opinion. So in the past, where I think the league was worried about the fan reaction to the suspension, I think in this case, if she puts a smaller suspension, let's say it's only 4 games, and there's some people outraged by that. I do think, though, if the league tries to Bigfoot her and says, well, that's not enough, we're going to spend them 12 games, I think there'll be a lot of backlash from fans that are angry about that. And so I don't think they will do it because of that. I don't know. Am I crazy?
An appeal in terms of which side could have more on the line in terms of an appeal. The union in Watson, really, there's in terms of reputation or the optics of it, there's nothing they're really risking. If it's 8 games, if it's 12 games, 4 games, whatever, if they appeal it, in terms of the optics of it, there's no real risk there. But for the league, there is, because of the fact that prior to the last CBA, the way that justice was sort of handled between the NFL and the union, it was considered sort of a kangaroo court. Okay, it's going to go before Roger Goodell. It's streamlined into this process where it's basically just the league deciding this is how it's going to go. And no one really considered that a real kind of valid system. Then this new CBA comes in, they pick this arbitrator, and with this new system in place, as you said, if the league decides we're going to undercut this, what you're effectively saying is we chose a federal judge who has more than 20 years on a federal bench, who has a great resume, who's probably corporate leaning, who was appointed by a Republican president, all these different things that kind of lean into the NFL's backyard. We're saying we're just going to invalidate all the work that she's just done. And by the way, I want to stress something here. The longer this goes, the more suggestive it is that when she issues her opinion, it's going to be very detailed, very comprehensive, very much leaning on whatever precedent she finds. So to appeal that, if you're the NFL, you're not just invalidating what her ultimate opinion is, you're invalidating all the work she did and everything that she established to back it and give it credit.
100%.
How you doing? Listen, if I was reading something on Twitter yesterday and they were suggesting,
don't do that. Yeah,
why
do it?
Please don't.
I know.
Stop reading
Right.
Twitter.
I know.
Pay attention.
The most reliable news
101.
source ever.
What's next? News from
Mess up
Facebook?
101. Taking my news from Twitter, but they were suggesting that the longer that this takes, could it be possibly that Judge Sue Robinson isn't finding anything, and she's like taking her times and hope that they come up with a settlement, that the NFL and Deshaun come up with a settlement so they can get the games instead of possibly her coming out and maybe saying no games.
Right. This is okay. So my theory on this, and this is perfect for Twitter. I'm glad you bring up Twitter because Twitter loves theories. My theory is that there's effectively really three components to this. Number one, the first component is she's doing the job she was paid to do. She's being thorough. She's showcasing that, hey, I'm a federal judge. I can sit here. I have other lawyers, obviously, at my beck and call in this process. It's the only case I'm working on right now because I was hired to do this process. So I'm taking my time, and it's going to be very thorough. That's one part of it. Number two is, following the hearing, it's the first time that both sides, all the cards are on the table. The NFL knows what Deshaun Watson's defense team, everyone, they know what those arguments are. They're all out there. They're in the briefs, okay? And on the flip side, Deshaun Watson's team, the defense team, the union, they all know what the NFL's cards are. That's sort of new information. So the longer the process goes, essentially Sue Robinson is doing something that arbitrators do at times, which is to give the two parties a little extra time to reconsider whether or not, now that they know everything, they want to find a settlement rather than allowing her to create some sort of precedent here. So I think that's the second component of it. And then I think the third component of it is that people might be missing here. This is giving Sue Robinson credit the longer that this goes, because it shows she's not a stooge for the league. She's not a stooge for the union. She's her own self, an independent arbitrator, which is what she was hired to be. Mm-hmm. And it gives her credibility to look outwardly and go, I'm not operating on anybody's timeline, but the truth, myself, and the best possible analysis in the decision.
Yeah, that's very well said.
Like that.
Charles, you've been out in front on a lot of the different scoops and the stories that we've seen come out of this story, and I want to talk specifically about one. I'm pretty sure you were the reporter that broke the news that the NFL would not appeal if it was less than a year. Am I right on that? That was your story?
I mean, I've written about that. I don't know if I was going to break it.
Yeah, I remember that. But the reason I bring that up is because I think you quoted a league source, and the very next day, Mary Kay Cabot had a story, and she's a local writer here, covers the Browns for Cleveland.com.
Oh, I know Mary Kay.
She refuted it completely and said that, according to a league source, that they absolutely would appeal that. And that they wouldn't be happy with anything less than a year. Obviously, there's two different sides of thinking inside the NFL office. Do you get a sense which camp has more power inside the NFL and whether or not they would or would not appeal if that suspension came in less than a year?
Okay, well, you touched on it, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because the NFL, if there's a sense outwardly among fans or whoever else that the entire NFL office is completely in lockstep on this, that's just not true. There are varying opinions inside of Park Avenue about what is acceptable, how this should be handled. And I will say this, when it comes to the final decision in terms of whether something should be appealed or not, and they're not going to make that until they know really what Sue Robinson's reasoning is behind her opinion. It's hard to make that decision without knowing what the judge is going to bring to the table, what they're going to point at. And once that happens, I will tell you this, the who decides this, it's going to shrink, okay, significantly. I would say that it's going to be a Roger Goodell decision, lead general counsel Jeff Pash. There may only be 2 or 3 individuals who sit there and make this decision about how to handle this going forward. But it's going to be very much leaned on okay, well, why did Sue Robinson make the decision she ultimately made? And what does it mean for us going forward? Because again, there is going to be some element of precedent set here. And if what comes out of this is sort of this idea of disrepute, well, Deshaun Watson brought disrepute upon the NFL, and that's how he broke the personal conduct policy. One of the arguments of the union is, okay, well, let's look outwardly. You've said yourself, owners have to be held to a higher standard. Here's the laundry list of disrepute that has been brought upon the NFL and should be a violation of the personal conduct policy. And yet investigations aren't even happening in some of these scenarios. And by the way, the Houston Texans just settled, okay, with 30 women. And there was only one lawsuit that was even in the works at this point against the Texans. They settled with 30 women essentially to get in front of what could have potentially been this idea that, hey, they should have known what was going on and they could have stepped in and done something, but instead they stepped forward and they settled. There's no investigation of the Texans at this moment, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. We talked about that yesterday. Charles, excellent context, because I think that's a point that hasn't really been made that needed to be made. Everybody's got to wait until Sue L. Robinson writes her opinion. Then you can read why she came to the decision she came to. Then a decision, and only then can a decision be made as to whether or not they disagree with it and they want to appeal.
And also his point on the divide in the front.
You can take four people in any sector, and you're gonna find differing viewpoints on this topic. It's very polarizing.
Thanks, Charles.
Charles Robinson, thanks, for your reporting. You've been all over this, and thanks for spending time with us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We'll get you a Cleveland Guardians hat for your next appearance.
Hey, listen, just so you know, my significant other grew up in Ohio. She's a huge Cleveland everything fan.
There you go.
And so, you know,
you have great taste. You have great taste. Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. Charles, excellent job. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
I thought that really brought a lot of clarity to
no doubt.
his reporting, and which he has been on this from jump. But I loved what he said about let's everybody take a breath after the decision is in.
Right.
Because first there's going to be a knee-jerk. What?
Right.
And then read her opinion. Why did she find the way she found?
Right.
Because you know what we haven't even really considered, and this is very possible, and a lawyer told me this a couple of days ago. There are definitely pieces of evidence that none of us know about.
Sure.
And so because of that, it's really hard to formulate an opinion one way or another.
Right. And in the past, we've never gotten any. All we got was the suspension, and that's it.
Right.
All right.
But now we're going to know.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at what the internet is talking about. Get what the chat is talking about. Moonvale Zion says 3-1 in the first 4 games, then 2-2 the next 4 games, 5-3 after 8 games.
That's what Tyvus had.
And he had that ready. He agreed with you.
Tyvus' cousin.
Jack Burney says 4-4 will be a win with Jacoby Brissett. And Nav454 says Newton would be way worse than Jacoby Brissett. He's not a Newton fan. And then finally, Frank Bennett Jr. says, I'm really more worried about our kicker than our quarterback, because if these first 8 games are close, we will need Cade to be big time. Continue to
you just spent a first-round pick on a kicker, so.
Hey, keep sending your chat comments. We'll read them throughout the show.
No, he wasn't a first round.
I know, exaggerating. By the way, James Smith is the most common
James Smith?
men's name in America, and Maria Garcia is the most common women's name.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
On the record thing, the 4-4.
Yeah.
One thing that's really I was getting so
Hey, Jay,
depressed.
we got Robert
as I was
Smith.
going-
Robert Smith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just make one point really quickly. I was going through this and I said, man, if they go 3-5, the season's kind of over.
Well, not definitely, but they're in big trouble.
Deshaun would have to go 8-1 for this team to get to 11 wins, which is kind of what everybody's thinking will take to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
8-1 is
That would be a
That's a
big
hard
problem.
ass.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring him in. Robert Smith, Euclid High School fame, Ohio State Buckeye fame,
Bucks.
Minnesota Vikings fame, ESPN fame. How are you, my brother? It's great to see you again. It's been way too long.
It's been way too long. So good to see you, man. I love the format of the show, and I got to tell you, I don't know who put the gopher in front of the desk, but that's the best move that you guys made.
I know, doesn't it work, Mike? Or Robert, it really works. I think it was Mikey McNuggets, our producer. Oh no, it was Anthony.
It was Anthony.
Anthony
Steve,
brought in
take
the
the shot.
gopher.
All right,
There he is.
Anthony, our associate producer.
I was just playing that clip for the kids a couple of weeks ago where he's coming out of the ground coughing after Bill Murray tried to blow up the golf.
It's fantastic.
He starts dancing again.
Never lets you down. Never
you
lets
got
you
Bill
down.
Murray, you got Aykroyd, you got Rodney Dangerfield.
One of the all-time classic sports comedies in my mind. Hey, Robert, first of all, we're going to get to the Brown stuff and all of that, but I really want to start with you with Ohio State. So much in the way of expectations for this team this year. And I don't know if you're like me, but when I see that they're the favorite to win the national championship, or they're mentioned by, I get nervous. I don't know, how do you feel about that? And
They're
do you
there
think
every
that this-
year. They're in the
not
mix.
every year.
Oh,
Not
come
every
on.
year. They're always like in the top 5. But this year I'm seeing way too many guys pick them to win it all, and that makes me nervous. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think when you look at college football over the last decade or so, I mean, who's it going to be? Who are people going to pick? They're going to pick Clemson. They're going to pick Ohio State. They're going to pick Georgia. They're going to pick Alabama. And obviously having C.J. Stroud back and this team the way that it is and the hopes, especially for the defensive side of the ball. And I think part of this has to be the current structure of the Big Ten. Obviously losing to Michigan last year, but I think that people look at Ohio State and they look at the path to the playoffs and to a potential national championship, and they see it as being easier, and I think that that's probably fair, inside of the Big Ten than coming from the SEC, for example.
I got to tell you guys, like, Robert, I'm someone, and these guys know this, but like I grew up in New York City. I'm 50 years old. So, like, where I grew up, nobody cared about college football. There's no good teams in New York. Nobody cared. And so, like, moving to, and then when I started my career, I was working in near Syracuse. And so we got it, even though their football sucks, but they were all right back in those days. Who was their coach again? They had that one coach.
Don McPherson, right?
Paul Pasqualoni.
Pasqualoni after McPherson.
I was always screaming that he should be fired, even though he's the best coach they've ever had. What an idiot I was. But, like, my beef with college football these days, even though I like watching individual games and the good matchups, is just what you said. It's like, who are you going to pick? Jay's like, I'm nervous. They're number 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, they're in the mix every year.
They're number 1 this year.
There's like 4 every year. There's like 5, maybe 6 teams at the most that you really think can win a national title. Every once in a while, there's a team that comes out of nowhere, but they almost never win. I find the lack of diversity in winning
LSU
to be
isn't in
boring.
that top 4. LSU won.
It's very rare, though.
Yeah, but okay. So I think first of all, the NIL is going to change things, and we've already started to see this. I mean, look at Texas A&M here over the last couple of years, and I know Nick Saban got in a lot of trouble with Jimbo Fisher saying that he bought that roster. But you look at the season that they had last year, and then you go out and you have the number 1 recruiting class ever.
Good.
The highest rated recruiting class ever. The change is going to start. Yes, are some of these rosters going to be quote unquote bought? Yeah, possibly. Look at what happened with USC, bringing in Lincoln Riley and getting Caleb Williams from Oklahoma. We're going to see teams be able to do what teams can do in the NFL, and that's kind of go to a form of free agency, improve their roster quickly, and improve their team quickly. So I think some of those other teams are going to be in the mix. So it'll be interesting to see what A&M does this year. I'll be very interested to see what USC does this year, to see if they can get their name back in that mix. And it wasn't that long ago when you're talking about Reggie Bush and Pete Carroll and Matt Leinart, just how dominant USC was. And of course, having the trouble that Reggie Bush got in, hurt that program for a while. But I think that the landscape can change. Yes, it's been kind of the same names over the last decade, but we're going to see, especially with NIL, I believe that's going to change.
I hope so. That's great.
Robert, you talked about it. It's so ironic. You said, Reggie Bush got in trouble.
Right, for doing nothing.
And then, so, like, now Reggie Bush got in trouble for what he would be applauded for today. Like, go get that,
Jim
man.
Tressel got fired for nothing.
Jim Tressel and Terrell Pryor got tattoos. That's so crazy that they lost eligibility. It couldn't even come back on campus. I want to ask you this question. How long before it's just straight up like this? We're just going to pay every player X amount of dollars to come play here, and that's what it is. And they're going to just have a pay scale in college football.
Well, this is the thing that I always thought was a better solution. I always thought NIL was a better solution because I think there's a whole can of worms that people aren't considering when you're talking about the university actually paying players, because then they become employees. Then there are tax exemption issues from the state that come into play. And then if they're employees, can you fire them? So I think that the solution now, having entities outside of the university allowing the players to reap the benefits of name, image, and likeness, is a much better model. And I have absolutely no problem with it. Would have loved it back in my day. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
Jay, you know how this is, man. Like, so many players are like, "Hey, Robert, we know you took a pay cut when you came to the NFL." I kid you not. I got my first car 5 months before I got drafted, and it broke down 3 months before I got drafted. and now you got Bijan Robinson down there at Texas, and he's driving around in a Lamborghini. So I got no problem with it. But I will say this, and this is where I differ with some people, like the Reggie Bush situation. People are saying, hey, he should get his Heisman back, and my problem with that is people that broke the rule at that time. First of all, there are a lot of us that didn't. A lot of us that didn't break the rules, okay? So we were living the right way. I would have loved to have my mother taken care of back then. But I didn't, okay? Because I wasn't following the rule, or I was following the rules, and I didn't want the university or other players that came after me, if I broke the rules, to get in trouble. And that's unfortunately what happened in Reggie Bush's situation. Look what happened to USC because of those rules. And we can say right now, yes, the amateurism rules should have been different, and players should have been able to earn money on name, image, and likeness. But those were the rules then, and you broke the rules then. So I have no problem with the Heisman Trust saying, shouldn't get your Heisman Trophy back.
Yeah.
Robert, you was great at Ohio State. I think you had the Ohio State freshman record with over 1,100 yards. What's your thoughts of Travion Henderson? He was a freshman last season. Do you think he'll be featured a lot in this high-powered passing offense? Do you think we'll see him break any rushing records at Ohio State?
Oh man, I love watching Travion run, and this is the thing. Like, the game is just so different now. Like, because of the pass sets you have a lot of empty sets. You get a lot of people removed from the box, but he also can do that himself. He can line up in the backfield. He can split out and create some mismatch problems when you have a linebacker or a bigger player that needs to separate from the line of scrimmage with him. He is just so much fun to watch. But this offense in general is just so much fun to watch. And we talk about the crazy things that Ohio State has done over the last couple of years. And you're basically talking about three straight Ohio State players that got drafted in the first round. And I know that the kid from Alabama, that he transferred out. And you still have a loaded wide receiver core. So, Travion's just going to be another great piece to that puzzle. But I'm excited to see what he can do, because I think he just scratched the surface. And as a running back, I think the more reps you get, the more times you see things, especially after that freshman year, there tends to be a dramatic incline, just because when you're first seeing that speed at that highest level, it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily a shock, but it takes some getting used to. So I think he's going to be even better this year.
Wow.
Robert, nowadays we see players more often retire when they're still good. But I think back to when you did it, I think back to when Barry Sanders did it, or even a little more recently when Calvin Johnson retired in the prime of his career, and Andrew Luck, of course, famously retired. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe like your last year in the league, I think, was your best statistical season, if I remember. Like, there was no decline. It wasn't even like, hey, it started to go over the cliff a little bit. Talk about that decision, and did you ever regret it?
Well, for me, it really wasn't as difficult as it seemed on the outside. And you're right. My last season was my best season in the league, but it was also the only season that I didn't miss any games. So,
right.
my first my first 4 years in the league, and in particular my rookie season, I did some damage to my right knee when I tore my ACL. Also cracked the bottom of the femur, did some damage to the articular surfaces, some cartilage that got damaged then, and that required some microfracture surgeries later. So I had to have those twice, including after that last season. So here it is, my last season. Don't miss any games for the first time, have my best statistical season, and I still needed knee surgery after the year. And I was like, I'm going to be one of those 45-year-old knee replacement guys. And like you, I sit here at 50 years old now, and I haven't had a knee replacement yet. Feel really good. When I push it a little bit too much, if I, especially trying to ski, something stupid like that.
Oh my gosh!
I might get some swelling in the knee, but other than that, it's pretty good. But I have to ask. So, being a New York guy, are you a Giants fan?
No, it's bizarre. I mean, I grew up in New York. I rooted for the Cubs. I rooted for the Bengals. I was a Bengals fan growing up in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Even though I could never watch them, like I never, because I didn't have cable till I was an adult. So I could never watch. I don't even know if they were on cable, but I never watched the Cubs and Bengals unless they were playing the Jets, the Giants, or the Mets. But yeah, I grew up rooting for all these weird. The only New York team I ever rooted for was St. John's in basketball. That was my team, but that's it.
Well, the regret part of it, regret part of the question. My last game was 41-0 when we lost to the Giants in the NFC Championship game. Yep. So 2 out of the last 3 seasons, the season ended with us losing in the championship game. Of course, after the '98 season, we had gone 15-1 in the regular season and then lost to the Falcons in the NFC Championship game. The regret was, and this is the things that they say, that regret for the things that you do can be tempered with time, and those things get easier to deal with. But regret for the things that you fail to do is inconsolable. Mm-hmm. And so I never won a championship. Never made it to the big game. Yeah. But at the same time, when I think about the decision to walk away from the game, it was it's better to walk away early than to limp away late. And even though I didn't have any of those championships, and it still stings to a degree, the knee feels much better than it probably should after all the damage that it
no doubt.
Years and years.
Robert, this is kind of funny you say that. You said ACL, me and Jay turned around and looked at each other. I think we have 5 ACL reconstructions between the both of us. And when you said you were skiing, I looked around and said, "What you doing? What? Like skiing? That's one of the worst things you can do,
especially with microfracture."
Yeah, that ain't no thing, man. Like that's crazy. Now, you did pre-med, right?
I was going to say real quick. So it was the ACL on the right knee in '93, and then I had a high ankle sprain before. They talked about them as high ankle sprains. Gilbert Brown, you remember, big defensive tackle from Green fell on it. I'm lucky that I didn't do more damage to it with Big Gil falling on it. But then in '96. Before they had horse collar, Walt Harris, Monday Night Football, man, and tore my MCL and PCL on the left knee. So my first 4 years in the league, man, was injured almost all the time. Last 4 years, relatively healthy, but I feel great considering all that stuff.
Just hearing him talk about that, my knee started swelling. Just a little bit. I can feel the swelling, Robert. Hey, Robert, I got to get your thoughts on USC and UCLA. Man, what happened to our old Big Ten?
It's so crazy. Like even thinking back a year ago when they were talking about Oklahoma and Texas going into the SEC, it was like, are you kidding me? This is like really happening. And then I remember the morning that this was going down, I was on Twitter, and I saw Brady Quinn. All he had tweeted was the big eyeballs looking, and then I saw Leinart doing it, and I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to find out what this is. And like at first, I'm thinking, maybe it's a big Saturday kickoff announcement, like who's going to be joining the desk or something like that. No way in the world was I thinking that it was going to be USC and UCLA. And, I think back to I think back to my recruiting, and USC, UCLA were both two schools that I considered. I considered USC twice. I went back out there after I said I'll be here at Ohio State. But I think it's just unbelievable for the Big Ten, and I think it's going to be great for those programs. And I'm just excited to see the way that it all shakes out and kind of where the last dominoes are going to fall. Like this definitely isn't over. I know that the Pac-12 and the Big 12 that they haven't decided to actually do anything official together. But obviously, when you're looking at programs like Oregon, you're looking at programs like Washington, and of course now Notre Dame. They're trying to get NBC to back up that $75 million Brinks truck each year. I'm just interested to see where the rest of this goes. And I'm like one of those people. I know some are like, the tradition. Like, it's change, and it's not always a bad thing. And I think it generally ends up being a lot different and a lot better than people expect.
Man, look at that picture there. Robert Smith all suited up.
Hey, Robert, I'm curious.
I think I had some of the spray on the top.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention any names, but we had a conversation on the set about
true.
that a while ago.
You got to get it going.
Hey, I wanted to get Robert. I wanted your thoughts on the Browns' backfield because
Oh man.
I mean, it's amazing the talent we look at a guy like Dearness Johnson, who's the third back. When he got a chance last year, he looked awesome.
It's unbelievable. Of course, covering college football, when you get to see these guys at the college level and then you get to see them make that transition. I mean, we know that, Nick at Georgia and Georgia, they produce all those backs, but then to have Kareem Hunt in that backfield, I think the interesting thing this season, especially in consideration of what's probably going to be at least some sort of suspension for Deshaun Watson at the beginning of the year, is Jacoby Brissett, was kind of getting comfortable in the offense with everything that's going on. Are you going to see Hunt and Chubb in the backfield together? I think there could be some really interesting possibilities. And I know Kevin Stefanski, when he was, I met him up here. I'm up here in Minnesota, by the way, right now. And I met him when he was up here as the offensive coordinator. He's obviously got a great offensive mind. He's got some incredible pieces back there. Those guys are just so dangerous. And what makes those guys so fun to watch, as a running back, you just love to see these things. They both have that combination where they've got that speed, they've got that elusive ability, but they also have that ability to just lower that shoulder, man. It's that proverbial bowling ball covered with butcher knives, and they can just level tacklers, and that's fun to watch because they leave guys guessing because you just don't know. If you've got somebody that has that kind of lateral movement, that kind of speed, that kind of breakaway speed, but that kind of power, they can really put people on their heels.
Robert, one of the things that they give you credit for is being a great running back, but you don't get the credit for being probably one of the smartest players ever to come out of Ohio State, right? In terms of now, I believe you were pre-med, or were you going to be a surgeon of some sort? How did you manage that, your workload, your case study, and playing football at the same time? And did you have any issues with that at Ohio State, being able to stay on track to have your ultimate goal is going to the pros, but also having that backup plan in school too?
Yeah, so it was interesting. The story has been told and retold and kind of distorted over the years, but there was no pre-med major at Ohio State. But the head of the cancer hospital, David Schuler, at the time, was kind of my unofficial advisor. And he said, look, the medical schools are looking for more well-rounded students, so I think you should major in humanities. So I majored in history, but I had to take all the biology, all the chemistry, all the physics to be able to apply to medical school someday. It's not something that I ended up doing, but I'm excited that I stayed in the healthcare space. I started a company in the digital healthcare space called Fan Huddle, and we're getting ready to launch a number of really exciting projects right now. But at the time, it definitely was difficult. And in my second year, I had an issue with a coach that had a problem with me missing practice to attend a class. So that's the reason that I sat out my second year at Ohio State, and I ended up, as I said before, going to revisit USC, but I also visited Stanford. And the head coach at Stanford at that time was Denny Green, and he and his staff were going to be going to take the Vikings job the next year. And it's funny, I ended up going back to Ohio State, playing one more year, but then I got drafted in 1993. And I remember getting that call from Denny Green that day, and he said, hey, I let you get away once. I'm not going to let it happen. It's funny how things work out, right?
Robert, you know, you go down as being the guy who coined the phrase, the Ohio State University. You know,
That's right.
Do you get money from like shirts and stuff? Because they should. I literally just bought one the other day that says the.
Well, you know what's funny? So I would always go back in the off season to work out at Ohio State. Dave Kennedy was the strength conditioning coach. He had a great career. You know, he ended up going to Pitt. He was there with Larry Fitzgerald. He was at Texas A&M with Von Miller. I remember he was telling me about Von Miller before anybody was talking about him. He was like, Robert, he looked like Neo. Like he was moving like the Matrix. Like I'd never seen him. And I believe he ended up being the strength conditioning coach with Tampa Bay most recently. But it was a big group of us that we would go back and work out. So Eddie George was back there, Raymond, myself, Joey Galloway. But anyhow, we would go back there in the off season, and they said to us when we were back there, hey, they decided to emphasize the official name of the university, which is the Ohio State University. So when I went back to Minnesota, of course, you know, I was talking to Chris Carter about it. So I may get the credit from some circles, but I don't remember who officially actually said it on Monday Night Football first. But Chris and I started doing it on Monday Night Football that season.
And the rest is history. Yeah. And now they've I think they try to trademark the word the. Yeah. And now they did. They did.
So they just did like 2 weeks ago.
They finally successfully did that, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, the university needs that money desperately.
Yeah, they do. They need a bake sale.
How are they going to survive?
Hey, Robert, every time we spoke when we worked together, I would always make it a point because I know how much you love fatherhood and how proud you are to be a dad. And because it's been a while and I haven't had an update, and I so loved hearing you speak about your kids, I need an update. Being a father still the greatest thing you've ever experienced? And just fill us in a little bit about your life and how things are now.
Well, I think you know that it never changes. You know, once you become a father, that love of parenthood never changes. And you know, now my daughter's 12 and my son's 10, and you know what they say, Jay, nothing makes you feel older than your friend's kids, right?
So true.
Because you have those checkups, you know, and those check-ins, and they're not as often, and then you're like, wait a second, this kid was just, you know, in kindergarten, you know, now they're driving. But you know, my daughter has become a music fan. It's just unbelievable. She's an incredible artist. She got her first vinyl about 3 months ago, and it's American Idiot. So it's Green Day, and so we're going up to Lollapalooza next weekend in Chicago. So we're gonna go see Green Day up there. And my son, and you know what's strange? They're both lefties. So like just like my mother, left-handed and blue eyes. So you know the legacy of my mom there. So my son, he's been in and out of baseball. You know, with COVID, it kind of disrupted his baseball career. But towards the end of this baseball season, you know, I started to tell him more and more about, like, look, you're left-handed. It's rare. We got to try and get you into pitching. But he's just having fun right now. But it's great that they both love to read. Neither one of them is that much into sports right now. But you know how it is, man. You love them for who they are, and you know, you just try and instill values in them that, you know, whatever you do, work hard at it.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask.
Their loves become your loves. Robert, before we let you go, we want to cross paths with a mutual friend. I think you know who we're talking about. Leroy Hoard on the program now. So once again, we have a Buckeye and a Wolverine.
Hey!
Hey! What's up, Juice?
What's up, Bill? Hey, and you guys, I think you guys know this. And wait a second, this is the first. Somebody got in a word before Leroy. But hey, so Scotty Graham was running back at Ohio State. I think you guys know, and he's now the running back coach down there at the University of Arizona. I mean, he was like the Mike Tyson of talking. And man, when he got up around Leroy put him to shame. It was unbelievable. He had Scotty Graham cowering like, oh my God. Hey, in all seriousness though, like Leroy coming in there to Minnesota, you know, I was getting hurt all the time, and I'm thankful that I was getting hurt because I had a chance to meet Leroy, who's still one of my very best friends. And man, it was just a pleasure playing with you. And before you were on, Leroy, we were talking about Nick Chubb, and we were talking about Kareem Hunt, and we were talking about the running backs, and maybe you didn't have as much lateral movement as those guys do, but it was always so much fun to watch you run, man, because like nobody ran harder. And it was the funniest thing in the world to see defenders try and stop a guy that wasn't interested in being stopped.
I tell you what, the cool thing about playing with Robert is we watch film together, we learned the playbook together, and when we got to the game, we all knew our roles, right? To the point where the coach didn't even have to tell us when to go in the game. We knew. Me and Robert probably more than any two other running backs knew our situation, knew when it was our play, and knew when we had done it too long and had to change it up. So I remember one time Robert said, "Let me get that goal line." Go ahead. go ahead, play it. The goal line is no joke.
And you know,
it's
it's
a
funny.
Whole bunch of space.
So Leroy is the reason that I own an NFL record that will never be broken. Never.
Ooh.
The longest average touchdown run for a player with more than 20 touchdowns. And I'm like above 26 yards per touchdown.
Oh my God.
And,
wow.
And second place is Barry Sanders at like 16. And it's because as soon as I got to the 10-yard line, Leroy's right. I'd start jogging to the sideline. Leroy pound that thing in. Like, okay, now I don't have that 1 yard, 2 yard touchdown.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a great record, though.
That's hilarious.
And the funny thing about it is, I don't think anybody really understood that we just knew, because our coach wasn't telling us when to go in. and people watching the games didn't know. They thought, this is Leroy's moment right here. He about to go in. It wasn't even like that. We just played long enough to know, this your thing right here. Go ahead and get this.
And you're right, though. I mean, absolutely no jealousy, no ego about it. Like, hey, if Leroy gets it, I'm glad to see Leroy scored a touchdown. And nothing about, any bad feelings that we had. We're just the love in that locker room. It was something special.
This is rare that an Ohio State guy and a team of North guys on the same page.
Hold up. Ty, wait 1 minute.
Very interesting choice of clothes too.
We got that 1 week a year. You best believe that 1 week a year, it was till we drop. It was no doubt that we was going at it that whole week. But keep in mind, Minnesota had a lot of Buckeyes.
They
Yeah,
did.
actually.
Yeah.
So I had it coming from
Corey
a bunch
Stringer,
of different angles.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter, Big K.
Corey Stringer,
Yeah.
Big K. was
Yep.
Part of it too.
So yeah, but here's another thing. You know, the first radio show I ever did every week was with Robert.
Really?
Yeah. He said, man, what you doing? You ain't got nothing to do. I was just laying around having a bunch of surgeries after I got done. You ain't got no job. You ain't got nothing to do. Come do this radio show with me. It was on Saturdays.
Yeah,
right?
it was with Levitard station down there in Miami.
Yeah. Well, I'm still there.
I know you're still.
You owe Robert 10%, bro.
Hey, so this is one thing that Robert would tell me every day, no, bar none, every day. And you can tell him, he said these words to me every day since we've known each other. Shh, Leroy, be quiet. Shh. I'm like, man, we've been doing this for 3 years. I know it. Shh, be quiet.
Oh my God.
He's still telling you that.
I be talking. Or how about I split my lip for a game from here to here and had to get the Rambo stitches, you know, them stitches with the big sickle. And then when you get back to we were playing Detroit. When we get back to Minnesota, then I went and saw a plastic surgeon. And so I get back into the huddle, and then we get done with the game, and we on the plane. And for some reason, I became the center of everybody's attention because I was still talking. And then, like, we can't split his lip. I hurt my jaw. I had TMJ. They say,
Jeez.
we can't stop him with his jaw. I mean, it's like, man, he is a pro. But I tell you what, I met somebody who made me look like an amateur.
Oh, come on.
We used to play in a golf tournament in Upper Montclair, New Jersey, right? An NFL tournament. And the better you are, the farther you make it, you start playing with the big time pros. So I played with Lee Trevino. And when we got into the locker room, all of the seniors were betting the NFL players on who would talk more. And when we got done, I took a knee in the locker room and I said, I am not worthy. Because he only stopped talking to take a swing. And it might have been because I was nervous playing with him, right? But he only stopped to swing the golf club. And then he continued with his story. And I was standing there in amazement. I'm like, wow, I am not worthy. Because oh my goodness. So that's the only guy.
We need the Lee and Leroy show.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll end it with this. I don't know how many times this has happened when I've been with somebody on the phone and Leroy's on the other end of the phone, and I end up getting off of the phone. They're like, "Were you talking to somebody?" Like, listening to Leroy.
I was listening.
He just got the phone up like this. Yup. For real.
You can set it down and go do something for 10 minutes and come back and you missed nothing.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, man. Hey. That is not necessary. What are you doing here?
That's a little harsh, man.
Leroy,
Thanks,
you're in the
Bull.
right.
I appreciate it.
Hey, you're in the right business, and whoever hires you, they're getting a bonus because nobody gets more word for the amount of money that they get paid. Period.
Yeah, he earns it.
By the way, real quick, Robert, before you go, I was looking it up. Leroy's last season in '99 in Minnesota, he had a lot of touchdowns there, a lot of rushing touchdowns. I think he had including the playoffs, I think he had 15, 16 touchdowns, something like that in '99. You only one of your rushing touchdowns was double digits. Did you know that? And do you remember when it was, Leroy?
Only one of my touchdowns was double digits?
Yeah. Double-digit yards, I'm saying. Double-digit yards. But all your touchdowns were 9 yards or less, except for one.
They were Robert's cleanup touchdowns.
Right.
Hey, man.
You see how they do you? See how they do you?
I didn't do this for this.
Wait a second. That's not an insult. You scored a million touchdowns.
You're the closer.
Hold on. Let me think.
That's
Let me
not
think.
an
Let me
insult.
think.
He's the closer.
Let me think. Was it Detroit?
It was a playoff game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you had a 16-yard touchdown.
Would have
Must
been
have
the
been against the
Rams.
Giants. No, it wasn't against the Giants.
The
I
Rams.
don't remember.
Oh, Dallas.
Dallas.
Wait a second.
No, we didn't beat Dallas in the playoffs.
It was against Arizona.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, you want to hear something incredible about that?
Wait a second. Wait a second. I screwed up.
I got a
screwed up.
flight ticket.
That was
I
the
can't-
season before.
Robert, thank you for joining us, Robert. Catch your flight whenever you want to come back. We were glad to have you on.
My bad.
Thank you so much.
Robert, you're awesome, man. Great to
right,
see you
man.
again.
Thanks, Robert.
Guys,
Come back during football season. And
Yeah, that's.
Leroy,
Sorry, Leroy. That's
he's
16.
given all kinds of bad information.
Well,
over
he
here.
did
Right, I
have
know.
a 16-yard
But no.
touchdown. It was the 99 playoffs, not the 99 season
Oh, okay.
that he did.
So
that.
think about this.
Yeah.
Think about this. So that week, we had a bye week, and we came down here. It was like 5 or 6 of us. There was a snowstorm up north. We couldn't get a flight back.
Oh.
So we were supposed to fly back on Monday for practice on Tuesday. We couldn't get back. The owner was going to send his jet down to pick us up. And then finally we got a flight on Tuesday. So Monday it was January 1st, 99. And I decided to go golfing. Why not? I ain't doing nothing. Had a hole in one.
No
Right?
way.
That same week, I had 3 touchdowns in that same Arizona game.
He's right.
And they were asking me, you know, I think the only Viking to have a touchdown receiving and a touchdown rushing in the same playoff game or something along those lines. And that week they were talking to me and saying, man, when's the last time you had 3 touchdowns in a game of this magnitude? I say, I don't know, but I had a hole in one on Monday. Look, you know, when you play football, you know how to play football. Things just happen, but it comes through the normal course of a game. But a hole in one? Oh, come on.
You should have played the lotto that week too.
No kidding.
That's something.
Is that your one and only hole in one? Not that that's not enough, but have you had multiple?
I've had 5.
You had 5
Wow.
ones.
Wait a minute. Wow.
Yeah.
How have you never bragged to me about that?
Because why would I don't need to brag. I don't need to brag. You know what I'm saying?
You're Leroy Hoard.
Like,
you tell stories like that.
Leroy,
You-
Leroy, can you help
I
me?
just told the hole in one story.
Help me. Did you see my golfing incident? Help me. I'm trying to become a
Hey,
better golfer.
Needs a lot of work.
Hold on. Your level of golf is fully explained by you saying you had a golf incident.
Hey, McNuggets, please tell me
We're
call
on
up
it.
that
Give us
video.
1 second.
Okay,
No,
Leroy, stand
McNuggets,
by.
please.
We're going to show
if
you.
he
This is-
hadn't seen
put
it, he
this
don't
way.
need to see it.
It was so bad.
No,
I mean, you brought it up.
Sports Center's not top 10.
Hold on, let me see it.
No, you don't.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, I do.
So give a little explain. Give a little.
We got it. Here you go.
Oh,
All right,
my
just
goodness.
watch and enjoy this, Leroy. We'll say nothing.
Are you gonna ever hit it?
Look at the club.
Oh, goodness. Hey. Well, the good news is you had a light grip. That's the first thing. They tell you don't squeeze it too tight.
Super Bowls.
He missed the ball and threw
Hey.
the club.
Wait, you didn't even hit the ball. I'm gonna pay attention to that.
No.
No.
And
It was like a
his
hidden
club.
ball trick.
Yeah,
He
it
had
was
borrowed the club from somebody.
some other dude's iron.
Listen.
Oh, so you threw somebody else's club in the woods.
Leroy.
And they
the
never
water.
found it. They never found it.
Leroy, listen, it's
Hey.
just, you know, it was a very low moment for me in my life. I did it for the kids. It was for Nationwide's kids. I did it for the kids.
You want me to tell you something? Golf makes the most flexible guys look stiff,
I agree.
right? Meaning that you could stretch, you could be loose, you can do all these things, but getting over that ball, if you don't know what you're doing or you feel uncomfortable, it shows up in stiffness. So
That's true.
I could see it. Oh, hey, wait a minute. KB, we was playing with KB. And KB threw his club up in the tree.
Oh, he
The
did
same
it too?
way.
It must
They had
be-
to get a
it's
crane to
thing.
go get his club.
He didn't get a crane.
At least he got his.
Now, did he
back.
do it on purpose or it just slipped out of his hand?
No, he probably can't even feel it in his hands because his hand's so big. Dude, he has, no lie, he has baseball grips on his clubs.
Wow.
Like they're so big.
I'm glad.
So, yeah.
I'm glad I ain't the only one that did. that.
Leroy, I want to get to this. You tell a great story, right? And especially when on these golf courses, man. So I want to know, who's the person that you done been around that done lost the most money taking L's on this golf course? Because I know you got a couple buddies that they
I tell
habitual
you,
get out there and take L's.
You know, most like me and Marshall Falk used to play every day. He had a place down here every day because we from New Orleans, so we used to play every day, and we were pretty much even. So there was not a lot of money being exchanged. I used to play every day with LT, right? We used to play a lot of golf, and LT, he was a front running trash talker. So if he beating you, he want to talk trash. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll take the L. One day we were playing. I beat him for $20. And I couldn't wait to get back to the clubhouse to get him. Right? He put the 20 on my windshield and he drove off.
Oh, wow.
So guess what I did? I took that 20, put it in my pocket, got my car, and I chased him down. we got to a red light, and I angled my car in front of his car at the red light. It's 3
Cut him
lanes.
off.
There's people all over the place. I say, this lane ain't moving till I talk my trash. Right? He said, I'll run over you, not until I get done.
And he's pretty crazy. He might run over you.
Now this is
No, you're
LaDainian
LaDainian
Tomlinson, not Lawrence
Not
Taylor.
Lawrence
Wait
Taylor.
a second.
Not the real
Not the
LT.
real
Wait a
That's the real.
second.
You talking about
LaDainian Tomlinson ain't LT. LT is Lawrence Taylor. You should know that.
That's why he go by the real LT. You gotta say the real.
Come on.
No, he
now.
don't have to. He don't have to. When I say LT, everybody know who I'm talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
See?
Right?
It's
You
his
wanna
era.
hear- here-
It's his
I
era.
got
He
another
wouldn't
LT
be golfing
story.
with Lawrence.
You ready for this one?
Guess I should have
Yeah.
known that.
So, Bill's first year, we were practicing in Mentor still. We still hadn't moved to our new facility. And Bill was killing us. He was crushing us. Bill didn't play. Them 2-a-days were for real. It made me reevaluate what I did in the offseason, the way he was killing us in practice. I said, man, if I would have just ran one more gasser, I would have made it. Nope. So we the Giants come in the Mentor and we practicing against them. LT asked around, hey, who's a golfer around here? They all point him in my direction. He said, hey, can we go golf in between practices? I'm like, are you out your rabbit ass mind? No. I'm tired. I've been getting my butt kicked. No. So he said, don't worry about it. I got you. So I'm like, I'm like my second year. I'm like, this is LT. All right. If LT says okay, it's good. Now I didn't know what I know now. If I know what I know now, I wouldn't follow LT nowhere. Right? But back then, I was a little starstruck. LT was the man.
Yeah.
Right? So we went golfing. I was like, man, I'm going to miss the evening practice. Well, at least I was with LT. Right?
Oh,
I try to sneak into the meeting room, after missing the whole practice.
Are you serious?
And Bill say, how was the doctor's office? I was like, what? LT got it like that? So we practiced against him for 3 days. The next 2 days, I asked him if he wanted to go golfing again.
LT might have been the only guy that could pull that off.
Yes.
God.
Hey,
Cut off.
yes. You got that right. There is no person in this world that Bill Belichick admires more than LT.
That is true.
I'm talking
He's the
about
best
Tom
football player
Brady.
I've ever seen.
I'm talking,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, see, and here's the thing.
And the respect was both ways,
There's-
too.
There's only a handful of players that have changed the way you play football.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
LT was one of those guys because LT was listed as a linebacker. And we all know backs block linebackers. Right? Bigs block bigs.
Yeah.
So for probably the first 3 or 4 years of LT career, all he was dealing with was running backs. Then finally they said, we got to change our protections. We got to get these tackles out on LT and treat him like a D lineman, even though he was a linebacker.
Crazy.
So what that would do is he would drop into short pass coverage. You have a tackle fanning out, and now you got his guys between the linebackers and the D line. They basically doing one-on-one in games, and you've eliminated probably their best pass protector. And that's how he changed the game. He changed the game and how you pass protect guys like him. And now, to this day, when you identify a pass rusher, you identify him as a pass rusher. You don't identify him as a linebacker. You don't identify him as a D lineman. You identify him as a dominant pass rusher, and you block and fan out and slide accordingly. That's all because of LT.
And there's not a lot of guys that you can say that
Changed the game, right? You got
Changed
Jim
the game.
Brown.
Jim Brown changed it.
Changed the game. Lawrence Taylor changed
changed
the
it
game.
on the other side.
Maybe Walter Payton, maybe Marshall Faulk.
Michael Vick.
Marshall
Vick.
Faulk was probably the closest thing with all the different things he could do as
Yeah.
Dale Sayers.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
As far as just being, the only thing Marshall didn't do was he didn't return kicks. Now, Eric Metcalf did that, but Eric Metcalf didn't run the ball like those guys.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Metcalf was quick as a cat, right? He got in the open. I remember my rookie year, we were playing the Jets. And, everybody would always tell me how fast this guy is, how fast that guy is. And you don't really know. But then you see a play, and then you realize it. Metcalf caught I think it was either a punt or a kickoff, and he was deuces up at midfield.
Yeah. Wow. Right.
And I was like, oh my goodness. And the only other guy that I could even put in that class that was faster than that was Randy Moss. Because I saw Randy Moss catch a hitch against Dallas and outrun everybody.
So let me get
And
this
if you
straight.
play defense, Ty, Gary, if you play defense, the first thing y'all do in every practice is the pursuit drill.
Absolutely.
Yep. Oh gosh.
Absolutely.
Everybody does the pursuit drill.
Hated
And
it.
for somebody to catch a hitch and outrun the pursuit is a level of speed we
that's
have
moving.
not seen.
Yeah, that's moving.
That's moving.
So I gotta ask you. First of all, I don't like rabbits. Don't be no. The rabbits. Stop running all that fast. This is Tuesday. You don't be doing that when full pass. Now you running down there. We got to chase you. I don't like
I hate that drill
First
too.
and foremost.
I hate that drill
Hey,
too.
hold him up. Hold him up.
Yeah,
Ty. Hold him up. Hey. Also, you can put this as a headline right here. So you telling me, because they played in the same era, you telling me Eric Metcalf was faster than prime time? Deion Sanders
Who changed the game as well?
No, I'm not gonna say that because
he had that type of
here's
speed.
the thing. Right. Deion had that I got time to take a break speed. It would have been one of the greatest matchups that we never got to see. One of the greatest matchups we never got to see was Randy Moss against Deion Sanders.
They never played against each other.
Because think about this, because he hurt his toe.
Oh.
Right? But I think he was with Dallas. But think about this. Think about this. Deion had his big toe fused.
That's crazy.
So that means when he had the toe problems and he had toe surgery, he had his toe fused at the top right here, right? So where it was like running on a plank. And he still played 5 years after that. That's how fast
at an
he
elite
was.
level too.
And he
At
changed
an
the game
elite level.
too. Moss changed
He
the game.
changed he changed the game, and he was the first. It was him. He was the first guy who legitimately blocked off a third of the field.
Yeah.
Right? He
Yeah,
was the
he
first
did.
guy to do that.
Quarterbacks
and
couldn't look
not
that
to
way.
mention, he's the only guy that I could think of when you say, "I need a big play." Go return it, Dion.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right.
And the bigger the stage,
Randy got a
touchdown.
touchdown receipt. Randy got a touchdown in punt return too.
Yeah.
They both got that kind of speed where you're like, oh, you afraid about Randy or Prime getting hurt? No, ain't nobody gonna touch him.
Randy was
don't get
deceptive
tackled.
too because he was so tall. Like
Right.
Dion looked like that prototypical sprinter.
Right.
But when you saw Randy I remember the first time I saw him in person,
He didn't look like he was running.
It didn't because he does it so effortlessly, but he was like a 100-meter state champ in high school at West Virginia. At that
You know what's
size,
funny about Randy?
it was unheard
Look,
of.
Yeah.
Randy was one of the fastest guys I ever seen play football, and he had them big old thigh pads in.
Oh, huge.
Yeah, he did.
he had the cute
gear.
little DB pads. He had the big thigh pads. I'm like,
did.
Randy.
Yeah.
I said, hey, man, ain't nobody hitting you there. He said, I just feel comfortable with him.
Tyvus is right,
we
though.
had-
Tyvus is right. Michael Vick changed the game as well.
Yeah, he changed it.
That's another
Michael
one.
Vick,
Drew
which
Brees
is-
gave
whi-
shorter quarterbacks a shot. Peyton Manning,
Right.
and of
But-
course, most
but here-
recently Baker Mayfield. He changed the game.
Oh, of
Well,
course.
there's been short quarterbacks because Fran Tarkenton wasn't tall.
Yeah,
that's
Fran
true.
wasn't big, but in this era where nobody on the line
Yes.
is under 6'5",
Yeah.
Right.
it was
Right.
for a long time thought that a short quarterback just wasn't going to be able to win a Super
Right.
Bowl.
Remember
That's why
Doug
Flutie-
Flutie?
Yeah.
They sent him.
Yes.
They sent Doug Flutie to Canada.
That's right. And
But-
all
but
he
the
ever
thing
did
about-
was win wherever he went.
The thing about Michael Vick that is amazing about how we forget as sports fans and how we forget as people that follow football is knowing how Mike Vick changed the game and knowing how teams were terrified of Michael Vick
Oh yeah.
and the impact that he had on the game and how you had to have a rover for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the rover does nothing because you asking that guy to guard him one-on-one? No. You wasting a guy. Why don't we give Lamar Jackson that same credit? Because Lamar Jackson had more yards rushing in a year than Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Lamar
I think
Jackson
he's better than Michael Vick.
is probably a better passer than Michael Vick.
Yeah, I think he's better, but I think Mike was the first to do it, and we've
Yes.
never seen
No
that
doubt,
before.
right.
But Jay, the impact is consistent. And if we felt that way about Michael Vick, why don't we feel that way about Lamar Jackson?
That's
That's
crazy.
actually
That's
a really great question.
It
That's
is.
crazy, right? He's
Because
that
we
good.
just sat here and said, right? Michael Vick changed the game.
He did.
And guess what? You can put all them quarterbacks in front of me. I promise you, the guy that the defenses are afraid of the most are Lamar Jackson because of the unknown.
How do you explain
How
his
can that
drop-off
not be in the
last
top
year?
10?
Leroy, you're right. But how do you explain his drop-off last year? Do you attribute most of that to injury or the
Yes,
league?
they were
maybe
8-3
making some-
before he got hurt.
Yeah.
They
His
were 8-3
number-
before he got hurt.
Right. They were still winning, but
He had a lot of turnovers
His
last year.
numbers just were not what we were used to seeing him put up.
Here, and this is not a knock on Lamar, but you're going to see this play out a little bit with the Browns. The better they run the ball, the more effective the quarterback's going to be.
100%.
And when Lamar Jackson has had his best seasons, he had a running mate in the back. Right?
He had nothing last
So
year.
if he didn't have that running game in the back, it was all on him. He was still doing work, and in fact, they were 8-3. And how you want to know the impact of a guy? Take the guy out of the picture.
Yeah.
What was Baltimore without
Well,
Lamar?
I got to tell you, though,
Jackson?
Huntley played pretty good. Like,
did?
I think
What?
look at his numbers, Lamar or Leroy. His numbers were pretty good.
Yeah, but he wasn't Lamar.
Well, his numbers last year were better than Lamar's.
Well, you got to look at it this way.
Except for the numbers that count.
Yeah.
Well,
The
I
8 and
always
3.
listen. I always say it's all about the W's and L's. Period. But
Right.
it was interesting. I thought there'd be a huge drop off in production.
Yeah.
He had some games where he was balling out.
I mean, but to be fair, they're the same type of player. Though.
They are.
They're the
And
same
he was
type
running
of
the
player.
same.
Same.
He was running Lamar's offense.
Yeah.
So maybe he was just a little bit healthier.
Or
Yeah.
possibly. Listen, I think your point
I mean,
about
he still
the
threw
running
more
backs,
picks than touchdowns, Huntley.
Yeah, but he's had some big games.
But it's
Hey,
the
hold
unknown.
up, time out.
It's a big
Time out.
game.
knew.
And
First of all-
did Lamar throw more picks than touchdowns last year?
He had about the same.
Yeah, I mean,
about
I think
even.
they were very similar. Their
You
numbers.
don't know what you was getting with Huntley though. Like
Right.
nobody knew of him. So like
Right, but
so
I think
coming
after we saw him for a week, we did. But look, I want to go back to your point, Leroy. I think you might have hit the nail on the head because a lot of folks are saying, did the league catch up to him? Was it the injuries? The fact that there was no running game there and they became easier to defend, he was the guy along with the tight end.
Right.
And I think you might see Lamar just skyrocket back to where he was at an MVP level next year. Once they get that running back and the backfield healthy again,
Of
he
course.
might turn into old Lamar Jackson like that.
But Jay, that's what a team is.
You're right.
I'm disappointed in all y'all right now. Let me
Why?
tell you why.
the hell?
And not you. You're not privy to this, Bull.
I'm not privy.
What I do?
The other three.
Whoa.
Here's why. Because after what Bull did with his first stat lookup, we listened to him a second time.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry. It was 99. That's what it is.
God.
And then you keep trying to give us stats.
I got one date wrong. The end of the world here.
He got a flip
That
phone.
But I gave you Huntley stats are right. He threw more picks than touchdowns.
How many touchdowns did he throw?
3 touchdowns, 4 picks.
The font on his phone is on the smallest thing. He can't really see it.
Right.
Yeah, he is.
He
He
got
is kind of.
to get it up on his face.
Man, Leroy, I'm the only non-Buckeye homer here, and you're going after me.
What you
Can't
mean?
believe it.
You the one giving those raggedy stats.
Raggedy stat. Hey, I have to ask you this before we let you go. 2 things.
Yeah.
What's your current handicap? And when you golf with LT, the real LT, the original LT, who won?
For the most part, he did because of this. He started playing, when he first started playing golf, he played with Jim Brown, right? And Jim Brown didn't give shots. He didn't believe in the handicap system. so he used to beat the hell out of LT. Then LT got good and Jim got old. So
That
we
tide
know how
turned.
that plays out.
Yeah.
Father Time is undefeated,
Yes, he is.
right? So when you play with LT, you can't play for a lot of money because he don't give shots. He would rather just beat you in a submission. He don't want a competition. So if he a 1 and you a 12, guess how many shots you get? None.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, if you want to compete, don't bet. So when we in a group, I very rarely have a game with him because there've been a couple of incidents. I don't want to get into it.
Ooh.
We're gonna keep it in house.
All right. That's for our dinner.
Yeah. It may or may not have something to do with balls being found, balls being able to be hit.
Oh, he's
that
cheating.
were unhittable 2 seconds ago.
Hey, I found my ball. Here it is, right on the line.
Oh, wait. So wait. So LT plays with this guy. They play big money. And I was in their group. And LT hit a ball to the right? And he went over and we helping him look for his ball. And the guy we playing with finds his ball. He says, it's right here. I say, ooh, let me tell you. He said, don't tell him.
Oh, I know what you're going
Watch
to do.
He goes, watch this.
Set him up.
So all the way in the other fairway, LT goes, I got it.
Yep.
He hit it. Soon as he hit it, old boy say, LT, this your ball right here. He said, that ain't my ball. He said, it's a Titleist and it got LT56 on it.
Stop playing with me.
The setup is
So
fantastic.
he made LT take a penalty, and they went at it for 18 holes.
Oh,
and
I can imagine.
Sat back. I sat back and enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. So are you a single-digit handicap as we say goodbye?
Yes.
Wow. All right. I'm getting strokes then.
When I was in Cleveland, and I played in Cleveland, I played 2 years, and my average score was 75.
Dude, you're the man.
But you know who's undefeated?
Who's
All
that?
the time. So
Yeah.
I got
Now
that
you're old.
back.
Yeah, he caught me
You
too.
know, and you know what else makes you less flexible? I'm starting to learn 20 pounds.
Well, Leroy, I wouldn't know about that. Get in shape, will you? What's the matter with you?
Leroy, you're the best.
All right, man. We catch
All right.
you
Peace,
here.
man.
Burn that jacket.
Alrighty.
Yeah, burn the jacket. We're putting a ban
Leroy.
on that jacket.
People in the chat is going crazy. My man Frank Benny Jr. says, "I'd like to see Leroy versus G. Bush one-on-one basketball." Didn't that man just tell you Father Time is undefeated? We will not be tempting
No.
the good Lord.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Ryan Carlson says Randall Cunningham did it before Vic. Facts. Shout out to Randall Cunningham.
He did.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
That's
he came
true.
back. And he came back in '98 to play with Robert Smith. And
Yes, he did.
Randy Moss.
That 98 Vikings team was really
great.
one of the better regular season teams ever.
I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl that year.
They missed the Super Bowl because their kicker missed
Right, against
for
the
the
Falcons.
first time all season.
Yeah.
He was perfect on field goal tries. He missed one kick all year, and it was the kick to put them into the Super Bowl.
Oh
I think
my
it
gosh.
was one of the Andersons, Morton Anderson.
Yeah, or Gary Anderson went more.
I'm not sure who it was. I thought it was Morton Anderson.
Ain't he in
Morton
the Hall of
Anderson.
Fame now?
And then we got one more.
It was Morton Anderson.
We got one more in the chat. Tribe of Judah 77 says, before Barry Sanders, short running backs couldn't carry the load. Barry Sanders changed the game as well. I will give you that. Barry Sanders was one of the first, the shifty short guys. He wasn't a bruising back, but Barry Sanders is, in my generation, was probably the best.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, in my mind, I didn't think of Randall Cunningham as much of a runner as Michael Vick, but he kind of was.
Yeah, he was. You know what? I think you're
He
right.
had a better arm than Michael Vick.
He was much big
Yeah.
arm.
Hey, whoa.
He could throw it like 90
Well,
yards.
Michael
bro.
Vick could throw it.
Mike, he wasn't accurate.
Let me
Okay.
he had a more
Okay.
accurate arm than Michael Vick. More accurate. But Michael Vick could throw the ball
Out of the stadium.
Yeah, he
But
could.
Randall was really.
Randall was a
he-
great quarterback.
He changed the game too. He
And let's
definitely
face
changed
it,
the
there
game.
would have been other black quarterbacks along the way, but there was racism, and they weren't given an opportunity in the NFL.
Well, there had already been a black quarterback win a Super Bowl before Randall.
I
played.
know that, but generally,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
there was black quarterbacks were not given an opportunity.
You want to do
by and
top
large.
5? I was going to see if you wanted to run through the prop bets for Nick Chubb like in 2 minutes.
Let's save those for tomorrow. 'cause
Okay, we can save
don't
those
have
for
a locked
tomorrow.
on. We'll save
'Cause
Nick Chubb prop bets.
I love those. We've got some numbers that Vegas has put out on what kind of season Chubb's
We'll
gonna
do it
have.
tomorrow because we only got one guest tomorrow.
All right,
and
very good.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
Tomorrow's a perfect day to do it.
Perfect. So let's do our Ultimate 5, which, as always, is sponsored by Roundstone Insurance. Roundstone offers a better alternative for affordable quality health care. For more than a decade, Roundstone Insurance has been saving small and mid-sized businesses money, an average of 20%. 20%. Contact us today to learn how you can get great health care benefits that your employees will love and save money, too.
Boom, 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 brownstone. Boom, 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 boom. A round stone. Boom, 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 boom. A round stone.
I like that. You had some
rap,
Afro,
man.
you had some Afro beats in there.
He's like a
Everybody-
beatbox over there.
Now, don't dance to
You know,
it.
back in the day,
I couldn't help myself.
Don't encourage him.
You know,
Yeah.
Hey, I created a rap song for my answering machine back in the day. I
Can
have
you
one.
please dig that out and play it for us
I
tomorrow?
can sing it for you right now if you want.
No, we want to hear the
can't
original
skip out on a
recording.
good beat.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the recording.
Oh, that's
but I
too
think
bad.
I still
Let's
remember.
hear it right now, then, Bull.
You want to hear it right
Is
now?
it long?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Go.
No, it's like 30 seconds. I'm going to try to remember how it starts.
All right.
Yo, 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 you know my name. And now that you're called, you got to play my game. It's really quite simple, as you can see. All you have to do is leave a message for me. Now, you may laugh or you may frown, but don't forget to put your number down. Don't forget the time and don't forget your name, or you will drive me completely insane. Well, to wrap it all up, hey, I'm not home. So please leave a message after the tone.
You know what? that's in the vein of Super Bowl Shuffle.
I remember that there.
You know, it's very, very cadence.
Man, your flow on that, they had a lot of.
That was tight for the 80s.
A lot of Run DMC.
I'm about to say it was
Yeah, but
definitely
for the
Robbie
80s, I'm
Williams
sure that's
a
what
lot
it
of
was.
Kumo.
That's my
from New
era,
York,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a lot.
80s
of that, man.
rap is my era right there. I don't, I don't like the stuff
East
nowadays.
Coast
I like-
influence,
Yeah.
80s style.
He had that Tech 9 flow.
I like it. It was good, man. You should put that back on your voice.
I can't believe I remembered it.
Now, do you do any too short?
Different Tech 9.
No. We did make.
If you start dropping too short, your cool factor is going to go right through
My
the ceiling.
friend and I, back in the day, in addition to that, we started making like parody songs, like Weird Al. Like we had a song called "Dead Mouses,"
Okay.
which was based on the song "Pink Houses" by John Cougar Mellencamp.
Oh, interesting.
We had "Pump" instead of "Jump" by Van Halen. And we had the Richard Romano rap, where we made fun of a guy who ran for school president in our junior high school. And just made fun of him, which was not nice. But
This dude is fat. This dude didn't make none of that up. These is
bully.
real people.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
is real individuals.
that was the deal, man.
He's giving first and last names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
I think I remember the Richard Romano rap, but I'm not going to do that one because it's really insulting to
I
Richard
just want to
Romano.
hear you do too short,
Wonder
and
what
then my
Richard
life
Romano
is
is up
complete.
to.
No, I want to hear it, but only one rap per day. We can't give.
Yeah,
the
well,
audience
I'll try to
everything
remember
at
it for
once.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't
next
know.
time.
Tomorrow's too
bars
short.
together.
Tomorrow's
Bars.
too short.
All right, so let's do top
Top
five,
five,
guys.
yeah.
Today's top five in honor of having Robert Smith, a Buckeye, and Leroy Hoard, a Michigan player.
Yeah.
The five best
player.
Michigan-Ohio State games of all time.
He's
In
no
football.
chance he
In
gets
I
football.
sure hope 2013 made the list.
In football. So let's start with number 5. 1996. Michigan beat Ohio State 13-9. They were down 9-0 at halftime. Brian Greasy came off the bench, leads the comeback, 2 late
Yeah,
field
I
goals.
cannot believe
wait.
that you put a victory for them.
What happened,
And
though,
it was the wrong pick,
Sean
never mind.
Springs was covering Ty Streets early in the third quarter, and it was raining. And Sean got tripped up. And Ty blew right past him. It was an 86-yard touchdown, and that was the game.
But I don't know-
The weather got bad in the second half, and they didn't score the rest of the
You
game.
gotta stay up. You gotta stay up, son. Keep your feet. Be an athlete.
And I hated that for
By the
Sean
way-
because Sean was at
Well,
the
Sean
time
was
the
that-
best cover
yeah.
guy in college football.
Can you
was
put
that
that
guy.
back up? Can you
What
put
back
number
up?
5 back up for a second?
Why you want to do that?
Because this is embarrassing, and the list is already invalidated.
I know why. I know what
It's
you're
a
going to
different
say.
picture.
The
Are
losing
you gonna say
score.
the
9-13?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
I've already talked to Anthony. We're going to address this in the post.
And why
I
is
mean-
Mike Hart? And why is Mike Hart in 1996? Mike Hart is not.
Mike Hart was like
We got the wrong-
2007.
Yeah.
Oh, the wrong picture. Is that what you thought I was
Yeah.
going to talk about?
Yeah, I
Well,
thought.
Yeah.
It's already being addressed. Don't worry. He's going to
Anthony,
the
we
timeout
love you.
box.
Why is it? Anthony's like our offensive lineman. He's only recognized when he
Right,
holds.
right, yeah. They wouldn't put the camera on.
If
him.
we
He
didn't
just-
love Anthony, we wouldn't pick on him. You
That's
can't
true.
have the score wrong.
Yeah, it is
You
always
can't have the
13-9.
losing team first.
Yeah.
This is not 5th grade softball. Let's go.
We're going to get him a mic so Anthony can
He
address
should've
some of
never
these,
even put
issues
one of their
himself. But at the
wins on
moment,
there.
just know his face is
Oh, man.
beat red.
Oh man.
Anthony, we love you, man. We do. We do.
It's all right.
number
I gave the
4.
wrong stat before. I said
Let's
the
keep
wrong
it
year.
moving.
Twice.
Let's go back to 1975. Ohio State beat Michigan in a top 5 matchup, 21-14. The name Pete Johnson ring a bell?
Yeah.
Damn right, he was a good back for the Bengals.
There
Another
you
good
go.
Bengal
2
back.
late touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Big Pete
Come back.
Johnson.
Hey, bro, don't.
Got stonewalled
Hey,
4th
hey,
and 1 by the freaking 49ers of the Super Bowl.
Yes, he did.
I don't want to see none of them games. These games got to be in the 90s, the 80s.
Yeah, who
and the
gives a crap about
75.
1975?
I did my research. No, this was actually a well-researched list here.
Number 3, Northern Iowa against
2013
Texas A&M.
2013 ain't on there.
You know
so
what?
Right now, it's just valid.
In defense of McNuggets,
Yeah.
there was football played before you were a fan.
No,
No, there
75 in the
There
70s.
really was.
75. I don't remember none of the 70s.
Archie, like, so he didn't exist. We
No,
can't.
he got his money off, but that game, no one knows that
No,
game.
well, Buckeye fans know that game.
It makes
They were getting their asses kicked the whole game.
But
Pete
to
Johnson
G's
saved the
point,
day.
it makes the list kind of seem like phony because you don't know anything about that game.
I did a lot of research, though.
researched
I
the
did a
hell
lot
out
of
of it.
after yesterday's fiasco. I did a lot of research on this one, and I stand by this list.
At least you acknowledge
I
yesterday's
stand by
was
this
a
list.
fiasco.
Yes.
He said this ain't gonna be one of them.
That's a good use of
Back-to-back
fiasco.
L.
What was the
No,
top
I
5
stand by
yesterday?
this one, and I research. You know, both you disagree, you can disagree. That's what makes this show beautiful.
right, what's-
but this list is well researched.
Texas A&M in the
The
world.
score's
By the way, the
backwards
missed
on
field goal,
next one.
Gary Anderson, not Morton Anderson.
It was
Okay,
Gary. I knew it was one of the
see,
Andersons.
All right, let's go to number 3. Ignore the backwards score.
Okay.
But in 1997, the Charles Woodson game.
Yeah, that was
The
was
Charles
tough.
Woodson game.
Hey, let me tell you something. Hey,
Get to the next one.
Hey, Charles Woodson changed the game in college football.
He did.
Like that man was just. He said Deion locked down a whole side or third. Charles Woodson against Ohio State. He had David Boston locked up. He had everything locked up.
And ran the ball.
And was catching touchdowns and had Heisman moments. And he had a sweet double-digit number 2.
Wasn't that the game where he and David Boston just pretty much stood at the line of scrimmage and threw hands?
It was
I mean, that was a real fight.
And didn't even get ejected.
Nope, neither player
They
was
wasn't
tossed.
kicking players out back then.
Yeah,
No.
look.
Now, can you imagine now?
Charles Woodson is the only person from that school that I respect.
That's not true.
Ooh, what about Leroy?
I'm growing to like him.
Leroy does grow on you.
Like he told me, he on the fence with me right now.
That angry look.
All right, let's move on to number 2 here.
Waiting to go.
Oh, God.
Number 2.
2016, a much happier memory for Buckeye
Yes.
fans. This one early in the Jim Harbaugh
was a
era.
good one.
Instant
That's a
classic,
good-
winner to the
instant
Big
classic
Ten
game.
championship. Came down to a few inches, but Ohio State ended up sealing the win.
Oh, yeah, and I love you too, Steve. Yeah. Steve, you good in my book, Steve.
Now, this got to be. We know what this supposed to be. We know what this supposed to be right here.
Does everyone have a consensus
I'm
on
going-
what number
It
one?
should be the 1 versus 2.
1 versus 2.
2006
41-39,
7.
Troy Smith.
Take it, Steve. Punch it.
Great game.
There you go. It was for a
was
spot
there.
in the BCS championship. It is, in my opinion, my researched opinion, the game.
The fact-
Everything on the line. The 2 head coaches. Ohio State was down, came back.
Then
Instant
had a pretty nice lead, and Michigan came back to make it.
Shout
Yes.
out to my man Sean Crable, man. You gave him the game. All them, you
Yeah.
late hit over there, fam.
He did do that.
Still come on the barbershop
So
though, like.
2013 couldn't make the list? Mike,
Yes, sir.
2013 wasn't good enough?
2013 was in the researched category, but I didn't think it lived up to the list. I'm sorry, Ty.
Wow, the disrespect.
Hey, and
that game came down to the wire. It came
And
down to
Tyvus got a pick. He got a pick to end the game. This cat played you, dog.
You think you know a guy? Not even honorable mention or nothing.
And he showed you throwing
I
the
thought
ball.
it was honorable mention.
Man,
I think that the list would have been perfect in our young panel's mind if the 75 game at 4 would have been
Yeah,
out.
I would've
in
took that.
2013.
But then I would have got, yelled at for, you look at the recent get. It's a no-win. I'm in a no-win chair here, guys.
Recency bias.
This is a damn good list.
He swapped Tyvus out for the 75 game.
Man.
What year were you born, Tyvus?
Highlights in that.
94.
You were born in what year?
I was 94. I wasn't even thought of, planned, none of that.
That was the George Jefferson game.
19 years before Tyvus was born.
Dang, dog. It's all
Nobody in here seen that game.
No, it was great. And I think it should be in the top 5. I really do. It was a great game. There's been so many, though.
There was a lot. There was a lot. We're going to move on to the MLB All-Star Game now and the Guardians' dominance in that. But before we show you some
they
of
were
the
dominant.
amazing stats from what happened last night, we got to tell you guys that the amazing stats are brought to you today by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, get a full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Yeah. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
PCC. PCC.
I like that.
PCC.
The man of many talents.
I like it. I like that. He's relegated. He's gonna do multiple P's and C's.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be.
He's
like,
changing the name of the
Yeah.
company.
He's gonna get multiple in there. It doesn't matter.
He's doing his best to create memorable jingles.
there it is.
He like Jamie Foxx off of the Jamie Foxx show, Jingles 2000.
Hey,
There you go, see?
By the way, this is an idea. The montage of all of Bull's jingles. 2 minutes.
Could be like a holiday special.
Yes. There it is.
I'll do some Christmas songs.
Who can forget the PCC jingle?
They got Bill
From July
in the
16th.
booth.
All right, the All-Star game last night was on one hand it was a great game because it came down to the last inning, obviously, but it was boring as hell.
It was.
The American League scored 2 in the first.
The National League.
The National League, Goldschmidt's home run made it 2-0.
Yeah.
And then the American League's scored three in the fourth, thanks to back-to-back home runs. Jose Ramirez was on base for Stanton's home run. That made it 2-2, and then Buxton hit the game-winning home run, and that was it.
Pitching was dominant
but the
besides
Guardians
those 2 innings.
were special. Jose was 2 for 2.
Yes.
Jimenez made the defensive play of the game.
Made 2 great plays, but the double play was
the
the one.
flip behind his back.
Didn't have a good day at the plate. He went over 2
No,
with
he
2
didn't
Ks.
get a hit, but and then Clase came in and had a perfect 9th inning. Struck out the side.
What a steal that trade was.
Man, you know what?
He's a top 5 closer.
Not just that steal, or just that trade, but look at the Lindor trade.
Yeah, but we've talked about that a lot. I'm
Before
saying
you
we
guys
haven't
look at
really.
the Lindor trade, just check out some of these numbers we're going to run through with Clase from yesterday.
Insane.
These are his pitches yesterday. He only threw 10 pitches. The slowest pitch was 97.8 miles per hour.
And
Anthony
didn't throw a
punched
fastball.
directly to the next one. That puts him some an elite category. The only other person to strike out 3 players in an all-star game on 10 pitches or less, Jacob DeGrom.
And
You
DeGrom
guys-
threw fastballs.
You ever heard of him?
Jacob DeGrom?
Yeah, of course. He's like the best pitcher in baseball. That elite
Well, he
company.
can't be the best pitcher in baseball. He hasn't pitched all
Yeah,
season.
but he did look
He's
good in his
been
rehab
one of the best
start. He looked good in his
He's
rehab
been
start.
one of the best pitchers in baseball, but
Yeah.
Clase's nasty. By the way,
That pitch, by the way, is unhittable.
that's
It's completely.
nasty.
It's coming
I know
up
I'm not
to a lefty.
I'm not uniform guy. I know you guys care about uniforms. I don't care. They were awful. I thought they were awful.
No.
You like them?
Those are fire.
I like them.
I love
Those
the
are fire.
You talking the uniform?
If you put some
fire.
if you put some blue on around there,
Fire.
the
Little
Guardian-
color, G.
With the gold
Guardian-
cleat, that
with
was
the gold-
fire.
I feel like I'm watching a game in black and white. What is this,
Man,
1945?
them uniforms
Them look
was
like-
fire.
So
So you
this
like
is a
them?
generational thing again.
Love 'em.
The
You didn't
older-
like them?
No, I loved them.
Oh,
okay.
But I'll tell you,
So how's it a generational thing? They're
because
younger.
as I was texting with friends last
Yeah.
night watching the game, the older friends hated the uniforms.
love
All of the younger friends were like, they need to do that every year.
I go buy one.
I mean, I don't
really
really care either
that
way,
bad boy
but
sweet.
I thought they were terrible.
You know, do you know, this is the craziest part. Do you know about this? The most predominant colors in every uniform in all of Major League Baseball, football, hockey, all of them, is red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Think about all the teams that have it.
They just remix it. They just keep bringing. And then how many teams got all white? Just all white, all white with blue letters, all white with red letters, all white with all white letters. This is terrible. Give me something with some flavor.
I'm okay with dark colors, but I want some. Like, I don't want it to be all black.
It wasn't black.
Man,
It was
or
like
gray,
a dark
whatever the hell it
gray.
was.
It was
I don't
like
know.
slate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like- it was that-
I liked in baseball when the players wear their own team jerseys.
Yeah, that was
I
a
like
big-
that better.
That was always what they've
That's
too
traditionally
much.
done.
It's too much. Yeah.
I will say this: it was tough to pick out at times some of the players,
Right.
Because of that. Like
right.
you always knew if you saw the shortstop was wearing a Cardinals uniform, you didn't
Right.
necessarily. That's Ozzy.
right.
Book it.
Yeah.
And it was a little tough when they were all, because you're not used to an All-Star game. Everybody in baseball
Right.
wearing the same uniform. I thought 2 things. Fox did an absolutely tremendous job with the production of the game.
David
They had
Ortiz,
72 microphones. So many players were mic'd up.
Yeah, it was
The
good.
Big Papi interview
great.
in the dugout was absolute hilarity.
Yeah.
The conversations with the players during the game was special. I particularly like the pitcher-catcher conversations
Yep.
where they're calling pitches.
Need more of
and
this.
I need to see that in the regular season.
What are we doing? That's what I'm about to ask you.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Listen,
That was good.
I'm hoping that, and we had this conversation just before the show started, I am hoping that baseball understands that this is what the sport needs. The younger kids that have left the sport because it's boring will love this. They will absolutely
Yeah,
eat this
I
up.
agree.
It was
Especially
good.
being at first base. You at first base, you talking to the opposite team.
You get to hear those
what they
conversations.
saying.
Hear what they
People
said.
want that
And
stuff.
I want all. You like Tito, right? Everybody likes him. Why did he mic'd up the whole game? Why is he not mic'd up so you
These
can
guys
hear all
don't
his
want to be
moves?
a lot of the old
obviously,
guys.
there's a strategic disadvantage. You have to understand that.
Yeah,
There
but
is.
it's not going to be. But stuff like that doesn't have to be live. They can just go back and play
Well,
it.
and Fox does a good job with that
Yeah.
in the playoffs of rolling things back in a half inning.
Right.
So, here's what David Ross had to say
Right.
just before he came to the plate in his first at bat.
Or
But I want to hear it live.
like when he says,
I love it, man.
When he says Tito's like, hey, he's talking to his pitching coaches. Yeah, he got about 3 more pitches, and we're gonna get him out here. And what are you thinking about? You coming with so out the? Like, people would love that.
They would.
Well,
but
that you can't have on the air because because then the other team would know.
Yeah, the other-
But he could change his strategy. It ain't like he's going to have the same strategy every game.
That's true.
No, but even in that game, they're going to have somebody in the clubhouse listening to the game.
That's a fact.
And they're going to be running up the dugout runway saying,
Right.
he's got 3 more
But if you
pitches and then
played
he's going
that
to change
back,
pitches.
but if you played something like that back an inning later,
Well, they do, and they
that would
currently
be
do.
great.
To my point is they currently do that. In
But
the
not
playoffs.
stuff like that where
No, not necessarily strategic stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's always just fun stuff between
people
the
would
players.
love hearing
Outlet
that stuff.
strap.
Man,
But yeah, you can't mess with the strategic. Like now, you messing up the game. Like we can't say what we want to say now because y'all got us
here's
mic'd
the
up.
thing.
And that's messing us
Well,
up.
if you play it back on delay, and it already happened,
Right, that's
Okay,
fine. That's what I'm saying.
but-
Yeah.
they do that
Yes.
now. But
Yes.
they don't do a lot of
That's
it.
fine because it's not interfering in anything. But that's just like that's like me taking it to a football saying they used to say, Tyvus, you got cover too. Now don't mess with your disguise. If your disguise is going to interfere with you doing your job, then you don't do it. And that right there is interfering with the job. Like I
Yeah,
can't.
right. So there is a
I
line.
can't say what I want to
but
say.
I do think, to G. Bush's point, I think that we all agree we loved it.
Oh yeah.
I think it definitely helped the rating because honestly, I think didn't we all find out last night how much we missed Joe Buck?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is a human punching bag, but
Yeah.
Y'all be hating him. Why they hate on him like that?
listen, I've never been able to figure that out. Joe's the best to do it ever.
Well, even you bought into the bogus narrative about Schwarber and that
No,
nonsense.
I still think that
No.
he was overboard with his Schwarber love.
No.
He was.
You're biased, he's not. Fair?
Absolutely fair.
Yes.
But it just, from a broadcaster who's doing a national game at that
Yeah.
level,
It was a
just,
great story, though.
It was a great story. But it
Eh,
was just a little too much.
I don't agree. I mean, maybe I'm biased the other way.
But I think
anyway.
Joe is the best to do baseball
He is.
ever.
I can't
and
stand him,
last
but he
night,
is.
America found out that he was a hell of a lot better than they thought he was.
Yeah, he's great.
Because when you heard his voice you just said, oh, this is something I got to stop and watch. Something big's going on. And now he's, of course, with ESPN. He'll do Monday Night Football next season, so he's out of the baseball
I
business.
did like that umpire camera though to see them strikes.
That was the other thing I
like
loved.
that.
Great.
Yeah, like
Because
that.
you know what? Nobody has an appreciation for what 103 miles an hour looks like. Because the overhead or the behind center field camera shot does that
Yeah.
no justice.
Ryan Heisey threw
But
it.
when you see,
Yeah.
he did. Oh my God!
Yeah.
When you see that from an umpire's cam,
Yeah.
you realize how quick that hitter has to, pitch recognition. Is it a fastball or is it off-speed pitch? Especially if his curveball was 32 miles an hour slower than his fastball. That's unbelievable,
Nuts,
guys.
yeah.
But you can really appreciate it when you're looking at it from that angle,
Yeah.
how quick that gets out of his hand and into the catcher's glove, and it gives a whole new appreciation for how great all of these hitters are.
And you know what? They can even have get you some virtual reality glasses, right? You'll make it part of the app, and you put the glasses on, and you actually get to go against the
That would be
pitcher.
cool.
Did you
Great
well, no,
idea.
did you see the commercial with I think it was it CC Sabathia's one of the players' son,
Yeah.
who's a player now. I think it was CC that did that commercial. They
didn't
played
see
it
it.
last night in the All-Star game. It's the virtual reality
Yep.
glasses that you can stand
Get
there
'em. That'd be cool.
and swing. It was incredible.
I think baseball, they got a lot of opportunity. Y'all can use more technology in baseball than you can in
Yeah.
other sports.
That's true.
'Cause you have
And
the
it's-
time for it.
You
There's
got the
time.
time.
Yeah.
You can set it up. Y'all can do a lot of things.
They're just so stuck in their old ways. Hopefully they're coming around.
They need to. They really do.
Can we
They
get
need
to? Do we have to get the good bet, bad bet with the oddest games ever?
Do we even want to do it? Just want to skip it today and get right to final takes?
We're going to 110, so we have time if you want to do it quickly, right?
All right, we'll do it. We'll do it real
Still
quick.
be-
We got to end a
yeah.
minute early. We got that meeting at 1:10.
yeah.
Don't
Yes,
forget,
yes,
guys.
yes.
So, all right, we'll do good bet, bad bet real
go
quick.
rapid
Let's see
fire.
the standings from yesterday. Everyone went 2-1, so there's nothing to digest or discuss
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
There are very limited games going on today.
Yes.
Man,
Very,
this
very
is tough.
limited. So
Here we
I
go.
don't know any of this
All
stuff.
right.
Three games,
Yeah, I
so
don't
we're going to run through them.
Let's go. First one.
Take the first game.
Yeah.
Those are standings. You can see where everyone stands.
Moving along.
Tyvus.
Got to move it along.
Everybody up. Moving to the first game. Chicago Sky getting 3 points against the Seattle Storm.
All right, quick analysis here. The Sky never lose at home. They've only lost 2 at home all season long. But their point guard is out for the game. She's out, although I'm taking the Sky because Seattle's got to travel. And Seattle beat them last time.
You had to look
Chicago
all
wants
that up.
revenge.
He had
Of course I looked it up. I did my research.
But you didn't know that.
I knew none of that. No, who would know
Good.
that?
Yeah,
Why would I know that?
I just wanted to make clear that you didn't know any of that.
No.
Because when
Hey,
these-
Bull,
when
you
these
said
came
rapid
in this
fire. We're
morning,
going rapid fire.
Sorry,
Second
sorry.
game here.
I was like,
Over
what?
2.5 goals in Maccabi Haifa versus
Maccabi,
Olympiacos.
Maccabi. Let's
Haifa
go.
versus Olympiacos.
Yeah, that's easy.
Both of those teams
blind.
have scored 1 goal or less in their last 8 games, so I got the under.
And the last,
That's
this
true.
is
He looked that up.
ATP
I love
tennis.
that.
Lorenzo Musetti Favored by
Jay?
2 sets over
Yeah.
Emil Rossaveri.
So you guys are lost. I don't know why Massetti is favored. Emil, whatever his last name is 20 spots higher in the ATP ranking.
Well, but everybody knows when these two guys get together, you
throw out the records.
the records
Throw the
That's
record
fair.
books
away.
out the
That's
window.
fair.
Yeah, they don't. You just can't
Out
use
the
them.
window.
This is
Fair.
such a rivalry in
It's
the
a good
sport.
point. That's a fair point.
All right, let's do
That
final
tells you the
takes.
state
Let's
of
get to
tennis
it.
today.
Blind.
Final takes. All right, let me start here. You know, a big thing these days is paying online, right? Using those apps. And I just forgot Venmo, right? So
And
Venmo
Zelle,
or PayPal
some
or
others,
whatever.
yeah.
So here's what I don't understand. Like I usually use PayPal. My wife uses Venmo, and the other day she was paying somebody via Venmo. I don't even remember what the reason. And I'm looking, and we're sitting in the car, and she shows me her Venmo app, and I'm like, what are all these like what look like social media posts? Do you guys have Venmo?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm like, it says Jennifer paid $13 to clean her kitten. And I said to my wife, why are you seeing all these messages? And she's like, well, there's nothing I can do. I can't shut it off. I said, people are actually like, what is this, Twitter? Like, and we're posting messages that I paid $13 for a cat?
Yeah.
Or I gave my husband $20 towards the checking account, which is weird that a wife and a husband would not be sharing a checking account. That's a little odd to me.
I'm
but
taking that
whatever.
money.
So by like social media, like we already you taking it. You got separate accounts? You keeping it real? It's already ridiculous enough what we all share. I mean, like I share way too much on the show, and we all share way too much on social media. But why would if you are putting publicly everything you put on Venmo, you're a loser. I mean, it's really that simple. Who gives a crap who you're paying? Why do people put that publicly?
Bull. I've told
Yeah.
you this before. People that live their lives on social media have no life.
But that's not even supposed to be social media. It's Venmo.
Right, it's not. But you understand that when you go
Yeah.
to a restaurant and you take a picture and you send it out, hey everybody, look at my toasted cheese. You are basically admitting to the world
That you have no life.
that you have no life.
Well, G and I do it when we go to restaurants,
leave
but
it
that's
go.
because we're sharing with the fans. It's a
Live
little
your
different.
life, folks. Don't spend
I
it on a
don't care how you
computer,
spend.
for crying out
Keep it
loud.
there.
Paying for a Venmo.
All right.
That money. Oh man. My,
Tyvus like, what the hell am I going to talk about right now?
He's just thinking about this. People are saying, give me that
Oh
money.
yeah, you're right.
What's up, about?
ladies and gentlemen, on Friday, Tyvus Powell, will be bringing his bat out of retirement. Cardale Jones is throwing a softball charity event, so come down to Huntington Park. Starts at 6:30. We start with the home run derby. A lot of the former Buckeye greats will be there. Ted Ginn, Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, myself, and a whole bunch of other people that's going to be there. Come down, see the home run derby, watch Tyvus Powell, who's actually AKA Ken Griffey III, will be coming out of retirement to really do some work in this celebrity softball game. So see you there 6:30 Friday.
By the way, I know we're not supposed to comment, but I have to have 3 quick comments. Sorry, Mike. Number one, it's funny that Tyvus just twice called himself in the first person.
Yes.
Number 2, he mentioned only like 6 of the players, not all of them, and he said the greats, including himself, one of the greats. Didn't mention other guys.
And then he said
but
Ken
himself.
Griffey III.
And the final thing is when he called Cardale Jones on the phone before the show and had him on speaker. And Cardale Jones, I was like, that's what Cardale Jones sounds like? I don't remember him talking at all. I feel like I never remember him talking. His voice sounded not what I was like, that doesn't sound like Cardale Jones. I think Tyvus is talking to someone else.
This guy.
That's it. This is my
G.
final
Bush, you're up.
Keep breaking the rules, by the way. I love when you break the rules.
Mike's so frustrated right now.
I'll tell you what, man. Listen, this is quick, man. Y'all need to stop listening to people in these investments, man. Bernie Madoff got rich people to invest in garbage, right? Bernie Madoff, he had other rich people. Sometimes when y'all cats got money, right, and they come up to you and they say, yo, man, I got an idea, man. I got an idea. It's going to get you 45% interest. I just need about 10 stacks. Here's what you need to tell them people. I work for a living. I play football. I play basketball. That's my job. I don't do anything. I don't need to make any more money. You just need a loan. Sign them people up for a one-time loan and tell them they got to give you 10% interest on your loan. Give it to them, and if they give it back to you, you can continue to do business with them, right? If they don't give you the money back, which half the people won't, just keep it pushing. But stop giving your money to these financial advisors and all these other people. And by the way, Cash App, you dirty for this too. Cash App, you dirty. We talked about Venmo and PayPal. You selling Bitcoin, you're pushing Bitcoin through Cash App. If somebody uses Cash App and don't have no checking account, they should not be investing in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that
Get
is
you
a
some
fact.
savings accounts, get you something, and get you a little money market and put it away. Stop trying to get rich. Bitcoin ain't nothing. You can't get rich off nothing imaginary. So you shouldn't be surprised. I don't like Bitcoin, and please don't invest in it. Get your banking account. Stop playing.
I'm sorry.
I think you should be a financial advisor.
I mean, to be fair,
all that's very sound advice.
I don't disagree with none of it.
It's all real.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have gotten rich off of fairy tale conspiracy theories.
Yes, but at least you can monetize those. I can't say if I want to give Tyvus Bitcoin, he like, all right, well I get.
Odell got his money in Bitcoin. I think he's regretting it.
All right, they're yelling at me because I'm not cutting you guys off.
Yeah.
Cut.
First time that's happened. All right, baseball. We always talk about how you grow the game of baseball. We just spent about 5 minutes talking about that. And we also need to see more of what we saw last night. You didn't get to see it in the game. This happened in the news conference. Clayton Kershaw, who pitched the first inning, pitched well for the Dodgers. At his news conference, he was told that as he was leaving his news conference, that there was a young kid in attendance that wanted to deliver a message. And McNuggets, is this going to roll? Or is
VMix just froze, so you just have to talk.
you know what? Forget it, because you got to see it to appreciate it.
see it.
And
Do it
there's no way I
tomorrow.
could ever do
Do
it
it tomorrow.
justice. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. That's too bad, because it was a great moment for the sport of baseball.
Hold on, wait. We made the soundbite.
All right. So what we saw was a young kid in attendance. His name was Blake Grice. His grandfather had on his bucket list, he wanted to meet Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw was the guy that he idolized as a player. He sadly passed away with cancer and never had the opportunity to meet him. Well, somebody heard this story and said, we got to get this kid in the news conference, and perhaps Clayton will have a moment with him. And the young man, you could tell he was nervous as hell. I think he was wearing his baseball uniform from his Little League team. He walked up to Clayton Kershaw and told him the story. And after hearing the story, Clayton decided that he was going to help make the day special for the young man. And hopefully we have that clip ready to roll now. Steve, you can take that.
Thanks for coming up. That took a
All right, that was
No,
great.
VMix is not working.
All right,
We'll run that back tomorrow.
We'll see it tomorrow.
We'll run that back.
Trust me, it was a great moment. Clayton Kershaw went the extra mile to make a kid's day, and it's too bad we couldn't see it today, but we'll bring it out tomorrow. Yeah. And with that, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show says goodbye for 22 hours. We are back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. You want to tease what's on the show tomorrow, McNuggets?
We got a Didi. We're going to get to the Nick Chubb prop bets. We're going to talk a little bit about coaching his rankings, and is Kevin Stefanski possibly on the hot seat? Could he be without Watson? We're going to get into all that fun stuff. So,
All right, very good.
tune in.
That's tomorrow, 22 hours from now. We'll see you then. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Shout out to the Honolulu Browns backers.
Oh, and it looks like VMix froze again.
Hey, bro, that is a mugshot, bro. That is everything. That's